the teacher in me comes out where
Some room
I'm
on
good.
Burks Park to do that thing that we talked about.
hey, we're gonna, good morning.
Good morning. I would like to call to order the Pasco County Board of Commissioners Parks Master Plan Workshop on March 17, 2026. At this time, silence all electronic devices and mute your phones. Please rise for the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Gracious God, we invite you into our discussions today. Unite our hearts and guide our conversations with wisdom and patience. Help us to seek solutions that honor you and benefit everyone involved. In your name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a second.
Please call the roll.
District 1, Commissioner Oakley. District 2, Commissioner Waitman.
Here.
District 3, Commissioner Starkey.
I have Commissioner Starkey on the phone.
On the phone, okay.
District 4, Commissioner Yeager.
Here.
District 5, Chairman Mariano.
Here. Thank you. Welcome to this year's Parks Master Plan Workshop. A special thanks to the staff for organizing the event. I guess I'll turn it to Mike Carbella.
Great, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board here today. I've spoken a long time here with Kathy Pearson and Keith Wiley on the status of parks. We've had a master plan. We're 2 years in now to an impact fee increase that's been greatly needed in being invested into new parks infrastructure. But like any plan, as time goes on, we recognize the need for changes or potentials and possibilities to pivot. And so I've asked Keith Wiley here today to come forward and give you a presentation on the current status of parks, our Parks Master Plan, projects that we have underway, as well as potential opportunities that we might like to get the board to discuss. So with that, I'll turn it over to Keith.
All right, thanks, Mike. Good morning. So there was a running joke when we were prepping that since it's St. Patrick's Day, I should have brought like a pot of gold, or at least a reference to some pot of gold, because that's what we're going to be talking about is money. But anyway, what I'd like to do is start with just kind of a quick overview of the agenda. And before I actually dive into that, I'd like to introduce my team. So everyone sitting up here from my department, fiscal related, planning related, we wouldn't even be able to put this together if they weren't on the team. So thank you very much, everyone. I'm not going to call you out, and if I call you out, then you think I'm going to ask you to come to the podium. So don't do that.
Have them stand, Keith, so
Yeah.
we can see who they are.
Yep, go ahead. Yep.
Mention their names.
Yeah, so we have TJ, Louise, Tammy, Shannon, and Che. So, thank you. All right, so what we're hoping to cover today is just a background from 2015. We're going to talk about the Parks Master Plan, the GO bond obligations back in 2018, how we came to our level of service analysis, the impact fee study in 2022. Then, as Mike referenced, we're going to talk about current capital projects, by zone, estimated cost, and then status. And then I think the main purpose of this meeting, we're going to talk about what we're calling opportunities and new park projects as they've been presented to me over the last several years. And then I'm going to talk loosely about some recommendations and prioritization based on funding. And that way, hopefully, we can have a discussion on next steps. So the 2050 Master Plan, some key takeaways is that it really focused on community needs. It helped us define our level of service, and it also conducted a facilities assessment report for each facility. That's pretty much summarized in what that document calls Appendix D. But the important part of that effort is it provided the framework for kind of where we are today, and most importantly, the impact fee study that we did back in 2022. It incorporated all kinds of public comment, stakeholder meetings, which I'll get to in the next slide. And then it also provided the backdrop for the GO bond request that we did in 2018. This is just an overview of one of the maps, basically identifying all of the park services at the time. It identified existing services, future needs based on gross, and then identified where we needed to grow in terms of new district parks, and then any expansions to existing facilities. So as you can see, we have 14 out of 34 parks were not meeting expectations. That could have been the size, the condition, 2 of 34 listed were exceeding expectations. Just my guess on that would be, so that was probably some of the newer facilities like Wesley Chapel District Park and Land O'Lakes at the time. And then most importantly, it identified the need for 6 actually new district parks and then 3 major expansions. And that was back in 2015. This is just an example of all the assessment, like the stakeholder input that we did. You can tell we did workshops, we did community meetings. I actually was not in the Parks Department at this time. I was actually managing the Environmental Lands Program, but I was a stakeholder on the steering committee, so I was very much involved in the process. Level of service map, again, identifying our future needs tied to development concurrency, so Bexley, Connerton, VOPH, Mag Valley, Winfields. The replacement of the sports campus at the time historically was supposed to be a district park, became a tourism asset and very successful project, and then the 3 major expansions. So fast forward to 2018, we used a lot of that information to build the request to the general public for the Go Bond request. Those of you that were here know that that passed 72% voter approval. We got $20 million. We pretty much have that fund spent down as of now. I think there might be $1.5 million left from the 20. These are some of the things that we did. We did Pine Hill Park, which was a full renovation. That was a pivot from the overall original list when we actually did the bond back in 2018. But we really wanted to have a community impact, so we went all in on that. Those of you that have seen that project, it's a transformation out there. The community is very, very excited about it. I'm actually very proud of that project because it's easy to take money from impact fees and build where growth is happening. Not easy to take a project that is 40 years old where there isn't a funding source and be able to make that level of impact for the community. So I know my team is very, very proud of that work effort. And then throughout the inventory, we did a bunch of improvements, facility modernization, other upgrades in our rec complexes. We learned that concession stands no longer cost $350,000. They cost somewhere around $850,000, which is still, to me, shocking. Most all of the major playgrounds in the inventory were replaced. Back then, what we would call a major playground, a large playground would be anywhere between, $35,000 or $60,000.
Commissioner Whitten?
I guess. I'll wait till the end to ask my questions.
Or-
I just, when you talk about how much a concession stand costs, it blows my mind when a batting cage costs $250,000. That's ridiculous. Like, there's gotta be a way that we can tone it down. I mean, to not have a batting cage cost $250,000, just like we've done with fire stations, for example. We've toned it down. I don't know if it's engineering that's driving the cost of these things, just being overly paranoid by the litigious nature of our world. But there's no reason, just like we see with bathroom facilities for other departments being $1 million, for us to succeed, we have to stop the madness of the expense of these basic things. You take 4 used telephone poles, 6 telephone poles and some net, and you have a batting cage and some clay. I can't fathom that a batting cage costs $250,000. That's crazy to me. So I don't know what we can do, and the ones I played with, they're still up. I mean, they're limping. They're 30-some years old now, but they're still there, and just to make do, you take some zip ties and hold the net up. So for us to engineer something and build $250,000 batting cages, I just don't understand why we have to do it that way or why we're doing it that way.
Commissioner, I think we're all shocked at the prices too. It's tied to spec, you're right. I mean, there's some things we can do. We've been working off the specification that we've established at Starkey Ranch District Park. It's mostly about integrity of the actual infrastructure, quite honestly. The thought process in some of these specs is if you build it to last, you won't have to replace it in 10 years, But that's something we can definitely look at. regarding the concessions, about halfway through the GO bond, we were contemplating remodeling versus actually knocking down and rebuilding. But the issue that we saw there was that the size of the old template, the communities outgrew those, so we needed to basically start over. But
I mean, you see how much foods are pumped out of food trucks and
Yeah.
little food trailers? So, I don't know, I think we need to take a look at how we make it work and stretch these dollars further.
Understood.
Keith, let me ask you a question too.
I had a
As
question.
far as the concession stands, we're making them out of brick, concrete block, et cetera. Have you looked at like metal buildings? It seems to be a pretty prominent thing nowadays, where you can get a company to come in, have it all prefab, they put it up and go. My brother's building a barn dominium up in Massachusetts, up in Maine, and they sent him all this stuff to go in, had just put it together, and a lot less expensive and a pretty good sized building. Have you looked at those at all?
We have not. We've been rolling with the standard that we inherited. But I think, again, to Commissioner Waitman's point, we can look at the specifications to bring the cost down. And that's kind of one of the things we're going to get to, once I finish my presentation, is opportunities to kind of achieve what we set out to do in the plan based on what we're seeing in terms of costs. Regardless of, I think, the spec, I think there's several folks in the room here that deal with construction. Since COVID, we've seen, land values and construction values spike, and quite honestly, they've come down a little bit, maybe 10%, but they're still pretty much stuck there. So, modify the specification, I still think the costs are going to be significantly higher than what they were 5 or 6 years ago.
No.
No, well,
Mr. Starkey?
Um,
You want to run it?
No, Seth, I had the same comment when I had a meeting with Keith, and I wondered, can we just build them ourselves? Would it be cheaper? Even I don't know if you didn't say how much a field costs. That was
Not yet,
shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just wondered if, back in the day, I don't know if you still do it, it was the Parks Department that built those shelters in Starkey Wilderness Park and the cabins. So would it make sense to build our own?
We got a bunch of labor about a quarter mile down the road.
So that was
Well-
my comment.
Mr. Cabral?
Keith, I was going to ask the question, do you balance life cycle costs with the initial cost of construction? Notwithstanding certain types of construction will last longer.
Yes.
And balancing replacement costs and things. I mean, I think it might be good to give the board an indication, especially on your specifications. I think you need to scrub them,
Yep.
obviously, and look at that. But we do want to balance, of course, good facilities that are functional, but will also last. And I think that's also something that needs to make sure it's part of the consideration.
Absolutely. And Mike, we do that, and I think, do we have that in this presentation? No, but point taken, Commissioner Waitman. Understood.
Yes, agreed.
All right, just to run through this list, because I think it's important to show the good work. We did tons of fencing, irrigation, lighting, and boardwalk replacements. We focused heavily on the redesign at Antelope River Park, which is, Commissioner Starkey, pretty much 99% permitted.
I don't believe it.
Cruise Lake Wilderness Park, we replaced the tower, and then we're working on a renovation of the existing Land O'Lakes skate park. All right, fast forward to 2022. This is where we, per statute, we ran through the impact fee study for the park specifically. We focused on a plan-based approach versus consumptive, which basically means that we have a very specific project list that was tied through the impact fee study. You see below here, we have, in that process, we had to establish our level of service standards, which is for community park is 20,000 individuals, district park is 55, and then our natural resources park or our wilderness parks are 85,000. It's important to note that neighborhood parks are not included as an eligible expenditure underneath the existing impact fee ordinance, and so they're not included in the level of service. This is the plan that was presented to the board and approved when we did the impact fee study, and it's what it's effectively what replaced the 2050 master plan, because the 2015 master plan, we used that baseline information in the impact fee study and then updated it at that time. So what we achieved here is we broke everything down in phases by the build-out scenario in each area of concurrency, if you will. So I attempted to highlight the projects that were concurrency driven. So what that means is through the zoning process, concurrency trigger on the previous slide happened. The county negotiated with the applicant at the time to set aside 80 acres or more. If it was co-located with the school board, it could be 180 acres. But effectively, everything highlighted in yellow, we, the county, control the land. We either issued a credit from park impact fees, or we actually had the land deeded at the time. So I think this list is really important. We talk about the ability to actually, through the ordinance, to modify it. You have to meet all these conditions here in order to do that. Basically, you're doing a swap, which means if you want to add something, you're taking something else off the list, effectively. And there's some other stipulations that are in there, but working with the county attorney's office through the adoption of the impact fee study, we wanted to give the board an opportunity to do that. I would say, focusing back on these projects here, highlighted in yellow, you have communities in the county that are expecting a park to actually happen and a large-scale park facility, so. This did not turn out how I wanted. You can see it over there. Okay, so look at this screen here. This is an existing district park and community park map. What it shows is the existing parks that were already built at the time of the impact fee study, and the blue polygon shows the area of service that we're currently meeting. Everything outside of that, it's what we're not providing park service. So when you go to this slide, this shows all of those concurrency projects with a red service area, and that basically shows what we will provide service if we build said facilities. So if you go back to here, you can see there's a lot of white on the map. That means we're not meeting service in many parts of the county. But if we go here and we stick to the plan, we're able to actually, almost for the most part, with the exception of Crossbar, Albar Ranch north of 52 there and 41, we're pretty much going to get all of our service areas covered if we stick to the plan that's actually as a part of the impact fee study. What I'm going to do now is go through each individual impact fee zone, starting with West. Going to give you a quick status, and then hopefully get into the budget stuff. So this is West. What we have here is you got Anclote River Park redesign. Now that's partially funded by impact fee because it's an expansion, but it is an existing facility, so impact fees cannot be used for the entire budget. Magnolia Valley Park, we all have talked about that many times. Newport Corners Recreation Complex, Mitchell Park expansion, and then I'm going to stop there because everything after the first three pretty much is on hold for funding purposes. And I'm going to show actually some the actually impact fee revenue performance of each area. But Anclote's 99% permitted. Mag Valley, and I see Jason and company are here, is going through a stormwater permitting process. Newport Corners, we're in the process of taking down now. You know, I heard the board pretty clearly on Two Rivers. You know, try to, you know, if we're going to have a concurrency requirement, try to take the property down as quickly as possible. So we negotiated through zoning a very, very aggressive takedown schedule, and so we're actively negotiating on purchasing that 10 acres now. And oh, real quick, as I go through each of these areas, these projects represent what's on the first list that was in the capital plan tied to the impact fee study. So there's nothing, everything should match. If you look at the bottom number there, the estimated total for all of those projects in West is around $120 million as of today. Okay, this is West Impact Fee Zone projections. Again, they're just projections, but the first category up top is your land. So the impact fee is broken down into land and facilities. So the first one's land. You can see you're getting about, you know, 522,026, and then about $500,000, basically slightly less than $500,000 in land every year through FY30. And then your facilities is around 1.3. And then we have debt service almost at $1,884,000 going across through FY30, and actually I think beyond. I think that's a 30-year loan. So I'm going to compare this to later on to budget and revenues because I think that's where the conversation gets really tricky. But the debt service is what we used. We bonded SunWest and Starkey Ranch District Park, which was a fantastic thing to do because we were able to finish Starkey Ranch District Park and SunWest, and instead of dragging that out over multiple years in phases. So I think that actually was very beneficial. This is Central. In Central, we have Cruise Lake Park expansion, Connerton District Park, the Land O'Lakes skate park redesign, and then the other larger facility projects is Bexley, and then Project Arthur, Lynn Angeline effectively, which is going to be a wilderness park with a recreation complex. We're all in active permitting and design on the top three. Everything else that doesn't have any status is basically on the shelf, pending funding. Here's the impact fee zone projections for Central. You see Central here is actually doing pretty good in land. Makes sense considering the development projections for the most part. Revenue projections also look much better. We do have debt service there. Back in 2015 or 2016, the board approved $5 million to pursue boater access, and that actually is the debt service for that. That's what we use for the Antelope River Park purchase and swap, and the seed funding for the design for that project itself. East. So East is turned into kind of a beast, quite honestly, here. So you have the Dade City Recreation Complex / shelter, and then you have the two main projects of VOPH. You have the District Park, the Bike Park, Bob Thomas Memorial at Two Rivers, and then Withlacoochee River Park Cabins, which, thanks to the storm season, kind of expedited or accelerated that project because the entire campground was wiped out, which basically told us that the campground can't be there, so we got to put it in another location, unless it's maybe on 15-foot platforms or something like that. But total cost on this zone is $225 million for everything on the list. Here's East, and East is going to get a little complicated when I talk about funding because it also has VOPH and connected cities, but hopefully I can clearly explain that. So East is also doing pretty good. You see that we're bringing in about $1 million a year in land, facilities about 6.7, 6.6, but we just took out an $80 million loan to advance for the Dade City Recreation Complex / shelter and Two Rivers District Park. So that's the debt service for those projects right there, and it's tied to the acquisition of Two Rivers District Park.
Let me stop you for a second.
Yep.
So you just bonded for the East Pasco Hurricane / Park?
It's the facility piece, not the hardening piece.
Yes, yes.
So we've got the park piece
It's 40
paid
million
for.
total.
The additional dollars we would seek from the state or the feds to harden or make it more hurricane.
We did get some, or we're trying to get some?
That's what we're attempting to do. We
But
have
if you-
opportunities in that
But if you have
front.
funds that have already been allocated for a project, and you try to go get federal funds for it, you can't supplant that.
That's not the
We're not-
intent there, no. The intent is not to supplant, no. No.
But
We have
if
to
you
build
got
the park.
40 million for it, and you could be asking for,
How much did we take out in total debt? 80 million?
80 million, 20 for this specific project in question.
20 for this specific project,
The-
correct. It's
the
a
budget-
$40 million project.
but what if you get state money, and then you get federal money to
We can,
double up? I mean,
we can stack that, and
Yeah, but if you've got the money already allocated for a building, you can't pull back
Not-
either way.
but the remainder of the cost is not covered. We've got half of the project. We have a recreation facility, we do not have a shelter. I know we're
So
calling it,
so is there nothing for the building itself?
that we have the building. We can build a rec center. I don't know if I'm making sense here. We have the budget set aside to build a recreation center, whatever that looks like. It would not serve as a shelter. We need the additional dollars to invest into the project to make it that, whether that's hardening, heavier construction, those pieces.
Extra square footage
Extra
for
square
office
footage,
space.
correct. So the project's not fully funded, if that's your question, sir.
Well, as well as even fully funded, the more you fund it, the worse it's going to be. But if I'm taking out bonds ahead of time, then I'm paying those bonds when I don't have the money to go finish the thing off.
Well, we have the need. We have the need, and we have opportunities for
You've
funding.
got the need, but the bigger opportunity is to try to get the federal and state money to offset the costs. And maybe you're gonna get 3/4 of the money, all said and done. So to kind of even go halfway, I think you're going probably a little too far. Can you allocate the money elsewhere? And just, if you need to, bring it back later. But if you clearly show that you're gonna be putting it out there for that, you could be cutting yourself off for extra funding that could be out there.
I don't necessarily think that would come to fruition. you know, again, the strategy here was to get this teed up to be a shovel-ready project, and we can't get to shovel-ready.
And I'm good for the shovel-ready, because I
Correct.
think that's the ultimate way to go, because once you have it shovel-ready, now you can
Right.
go. But if you get shovel-ready and you've already got half of it funded, you're cutting yourself out of what could be extra funding.
You could, I mean, and you don't necessarily, I mean, again, you know, depending on your draws with the bonds, we'd have to check and see what the rules would be, and sometimes you can change projects with bonds, and that's not out of the question if we needed to do different investments, but,
Keith's trying to say something.
go ahead, Keith.
I do not have the bond language committed to memory, but I'm pretty certain that we have the flexibility in the bond language if we needed to pivot on projects, so,
Commissioner Starkey?
Remember that the CDBG-DR money
yes.
can act as a federal match to a federal, I mean, it's different than other federal money.
Yes.
Normally, you can't.
You can use it as a match for other,
You can use it as a
for other
match for other
programs.
federal-
That is
yeah.
correct.
It's
We're
got
looking
s-
at that as a strategy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, where's the rest of that money going? Because you said
Two Rivers.
80, but you're
Two-
using
two-
20 over
two-
there, so where's $60 million
Two
going?
Rivers.
Two
Two
Rivers.
Rivers District Park.
$60 million?
So we're gonna get to that here in a minute in terms of costs, so.
We've got a lot of
60.
concession stands.
There's 47 concession stands out there. No, I'm teasing.
What?
I'm joking.
It's a joke.
Commissioner Mariano, can I proceed?
Please.
Okay, so I'm going to look at Louise here to make sure I get this right, but this is the VOPH and Connected Cities funding profiles. So VOPH, as we all know, has the super park element. It was very specific in collecting money. There was some land requirements, and then there's a surcharge. But we were required to basically collect money in its own bucket. So this is within East, but it's still its own funding source. You can see that there's some loans for land that have to be paid back, both to the central impact fees and ELAMP, but VOPH has not really taken off yet in terms of revenue. You can see it's you're at 1.1 across, pretty much across all years. I would expect, I know that through the planning district there was some changes. There's no one here from planning, but some incentives and some restrictions I think were lightened. So maybe the development there will accelerate over the next few years, and that will change these projections. But historically, right now, VOPH has not been producing. Back in 2015, 2016, when Connected Cities came in, their zoning park requirement was moved to the VOPH district, planning district. So there's a sub-area policy that steers those funds specifically to the VOPH bucket. So until the super park is officially funded and built, this mechanism is going to stay in place. So whatever you see here effectively is going to the super park project for the most part. Now, we started out, which I'm going to get to, with around $30 million for the super park. So we could consider in the future, if the super park gets built, we can dissolve this, and then all those revenues would actually go back into the East Zone. I remember at one of the board meetings, I talked about this regarding Connected Cities and the possibility of maybe using that funding source to establish the community park in Connected Cities. But as it stands right now, this is everything that's in place. VOPH is actively in design both for the district park and the active park, and we'll talk a little bit about numbers here in a second. So this is, these are just some renderings of the projects that we've worked that are in process so far to date. So here's a concept for VOPH District Park. This is to get everyone excited, technically.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah, so focus on a big event lawn space, overlooking some of the topography there. I think there's 10 multi-use fields, a lot of passive park area rolled into some trail networks. This is northeast of that existing facility. This is the actual passive park, the 200 acres of the super park, which is effectively going to be like a wilderness park / bike park. This is a map of the actual trail network. This is a map of some programming there. So you're going to pump track, you have skills progression, you have a bike playground. There's going to be some kind of coffee shop there that would be run through concession, produce revenue. Here is the Two Rivers District Park, or Bob Thomas Memorial Park. This we worked with the developer on. Since this was designed, we, the county, actually negotiated less acreage, back to 83 approximately, and due east of, west of Coates Road is going to be a surf park, so we're gonna be sharing that space with a surf park. Pretty cool synergy. I think it'll be a pretty awesome place, if everything gets built. And then the school project is, directly, west of the existing, multi-purpose fields there. This is just a concept. Because of the loss of the acreage, we're gonna have to shuffle some things around and look at floodplain, but, that's the other part of the bond, Commissioner Starkey, is for this project right here.
When we do projects like this, can we not take that stormwater and turn it into an asset, rowing or something? I mean, why do we put it in these little useless piles and instead of make it into a lake or something? I mean,
Well,
we should be more creative with all that water.
Yeah, I know that like top of bank, we put trails and we activate it that way. I don't think we've ever, and fishing and things like that. I don't know if we've ever historically allowed activity within the
I
water.
think that's what Benderson did down in Sarasota.
Okay.
And they have a world-class rowing facility there, but when they widened the highway, I think they put,
Well, Benderson's was a borrow pit. They converted a borrow pit into
Stormwater.
So it stayed wet.
so it's not stormwater?
It may have some
I
stormwater,
think
but
it
it
has
was,
some
it was
stormwater.
fill for the interstate, so
Yeah.
it was a big hole.
Yeah.
And they converted it into a rowing
I'm just saying, there's
course.
a lot of water there. It could have been a sports asset of some sort.
Be creative with
Yeah.
stormwater is what I'm hearing, so, okay.
All right.
Now, Keith, let me go to the super park as well. So I'm looking at, you got 10 fields for multipurpose.
Yeah.
On the baseball, softball section, whatever it is, you got a whole different configuration, all, some small, some big. I don't know why we would make it, let's say, 8 big that can be shortened for small.
Yeah.
I mean, then you can run tournaments there if you're gonna run tournaments, so kids aren't traveling to go somewhere, but you can have it right here. Right now, you're limited to where you can do 8 ones, but just for probably Little League. When a little more space, you could make them full-size park and just put the fences in, you get a larger team coming in to play Major League Baseball, or, when I said Major League, I mean, older kids playing, you could have more versatility.
I don't know how you move the fences, though.
So
What's that?
actually, those are
Yeah.
actually the larger, those are actually adult softball field specs, so they're not your standard 220, they're actually larger. There is
Yeah.
a smaller field there. And you have to remember that if you go northeast, you have, nine ball fields at Burke. So when we look at a service area, we want to make sure that we're spreading out all the amenities. And so what we need in that area is we don't have a place, we're getting a lot of pressure from Wesley Chapel for adult softball, and we don't have a place to house them. We feel like we have adequate space at Burke's for baseball in general. And then, to your point, Commissioner Mariano, if we did need to be creative in programming, we could put temporary fencing, which we have done at other facilities, to facilitate, either youth or adult or senior competitive play.
Well, I seen them do it at Altamont Springs, where they
Yep.
have a park, and they made it versatile to
Yep.
run whatever they wanted to run.
Yeah. We've made the mistake a couple times where we've built a fence at 220 and we needed, something else, and then we have to either take it down or then you're restricting use. So in this case, we're over-designing and we'll have that flexibility built in.
And if you do it that way, then you can even, I think, justify using some tourist development money to say, okay, we built these extra fields or these extra fences in here. Tourist development's gonna pay for it, so when we do have an event, they can come in.
Yeah, that reminds me, I gotta talk to them about Starkey Ranch District Park too. So, since we run so many tournaments out there. But no, I'm joking, sort of, because I don't think they like when I call, but.
Well, they're gonna help sponsor an event one way or another, but again,
Yeah.
for the physical capital, like, you help at Sun West putting those beach volleyball, tennis, and now you're creating revenue for people coming in there, so I think it's perfectly applicable.
Yeah, we have a good partnership with them, so absolutely.
Is there tennis or pickleball here?
So there's a standard outdoor courts that we would typically use.
Why do I not see? Maybe I must be blind here.
Yeah, this is just a rendering. We have programmatic layout, but we're not that far into the design yet.
Where is this picture here on this?
what do you?
Do you have an aerial overview?
That's not, that, no.
It's two different parks. I
That's
think
what
you're
you're
looking,
looking.
yeah, Commissioner Mariano, that is, that's the Bob Thomas. This is just a rendering,
So
so.
what's gonna go on in that whole big field?
So community events mostly, and then, yeah, so at our large district parks where we have these complexes, like you think Wesley Chapel District Park, you can go out there, you need the space to hold 3,000 to 4,000 individuals for community events. So in our future designs, that's what we're trying to capture. It's very effective at Wesley Chapel District Park where you have Land O'Lakes, where you don't necessarily have that space. Then you're kind of programming on fields or in parking lots. It's challenging.
Commissioner Wade?
Now, so on this site, so in our area, you know, we're famous for the hot air balloons, but as Seven Oaks keeps getting built out, those spaces are gonna go away. Is there ability, if the weather's right, that the hot air balloon folks can, is this big
Oh, that'd
enough
be
to where the
nice,
hot air
yeah.
balloon folks can come in and out, and there's actually formal parking, a landing or takeoff pad, that it could be used for,
Yeah.
it could be more of a benefit to the county versus the hot air balloon folks just kind of finding where to go with the winds correctly, because that's, you know, like Seven Oaks is growing on its last phase, so.
Do you know what size of a space they use out there now? Because honestly, I've never,
I'm no
outside
hot
of
air
being in
balloon
Albuquerque
expert.
during the one festival, I don't know.
I would
what's-
never personally go in one, I'm just not that brave. But I appreciate,
Yeah.
you know, that they're here, and,
High-tension power
you're on,
lines
you know,
to
one of the highest pieces of elevation in the county, in the state, so. I just figure if we're thinking creatively that.
It's definitely the starting point for that conversation because it's an event lawn. It's a rather large space.
Commissioner Scarpelli?
I ran one on the ranch for a couple of years called Celebration Pasco. The money went to the park in Land Lakes. That's plenty adequate for the balloon glow, it's called, at night when they all light on fire. And we camped out the night before. That's plenty of room. And that's a great location because they can go, you know, hopefully. They don't want to go west, they got to go east there. But yeah, that's a great, I didn't know those were still going on in the county.
Yeah.
Ours died with, when 9/11 happened, but
So, Mike,
grounded
if
everybody.
Mike, I got just a question, I guess, for the commissioner. So, this is not something that we've done historically, but it sounds like we need to, possibly at the initial kickoff, you know, get some commissioner feedback in terms of these designs. And we're working on several right now that we've just started. So, I don't know if we do that.
I think a charrette or something like
Yeah,
that, Keith,
okay.
would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Commissioner Stark?
is that an amphitheater for a concert?
Yeah, so the consultant likes the idea of a hardened, like a structure there. I think myself,
You need to come to the mic, TJ.
yeah.
Top right.
To the right of the gymnasium, kind of the top right corner, that's the amphitheater. This is like a,
Oh, I see, because that's where the hill starts
that's where the
going
hill
down?
goes down,
Yeah.
correct,
Okay.
yep.
Yeah.
And the building you see in
Nice.
the front here is just kind of like a pavilion to rent out
Okay.
for the,
Well, I can see art festivals and
sorry.
and community markets and all kinds of things there, right?
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
TJ Pache, Assistant Director for Parks and Rec.
That'd be great space.
Yeah, so that event lawn's about 6,000 square feet is what we have programmed right now. I mean, the only negative I see for air balloons would be the sports lighting. We have a lot of sports lighting going up around that, you know, as far as the field and stuff. I don't know how that affects that, because it's not, I mean, hopefully they can land those balloons on
They
a.
just have to go up.
Hopefully they can
quick.
land those
They
balloons
don't
on
land
a.
they wouldn't land
They
there.
just take off
They
there?
just
Okay,
take
yeah,
off
taking
there.
off, I don't see any,
Yeah.
yeah, that
Appreciate it.
seems like a,
No,
But-
so looking at that space, like downtown Newport Richey at Sims Park, they have concerts almost every weekend. I mean,
Yeah.
there's always something
Yeah.
going on there, so it'd be a great way to capture some revenue too.
How many do
Yep.
they hold?
I don't know, but I mean, they have something almost every single weekend
Yeah.
there.
yeah, and a few other things, if I can
Of course.
speak. Yeah, a few other things that we programmed at VOPH, you know, the picture you see of all the fields is Bob Thomas. This is VOPH. We had another picture that we probably just showed you that shows all the programming, but we have, as soon as you come into the park, there's 6 multi-purpose fields as you come in, fully lit for soccer or you know, lacrosse, whatever's going to go there. As you come into the park, you kind of come into this area, which is kind of the central area, which is the gymnasium, which is right now it's programmed to be about 40,000 square feet, that gymnasium. Our other gymnasiums are probably 17,000 square feet, so it's definitely a lot bigger than the ones we usually have. You're gonna have a playground, a splash pad currently. We do have pickleball. I forget how many courts, but there are quite a few pickleball courts and tennis courts and basketball courts. And then as you come through, there's gonna be a big area there that's gonna be programmed for, there's gonna be two multi-purpose fields there, and there's also gonna be programmed for cricket. It's gonna be big enough so they can have an actual cricket field there. There's been a need for that throughout the county that they're looking for. And then as you come further south, I think it is, that's where we'll have the 3 adult softball fields, is what we program for here, is just three adult softball fields, and then another multi-purpose field with a track around it that's actually going to back up to the school. So the thought is that maybe we have some shared use with the school and also some shared cost with the school for that part of it. And that's kind of the program for this one right here, so.
Mrs. Stark?
My only angst with this design when I saw it was that pretty sure the VOPH downtown is right next to this. And I didn't see what the relationship was with the downtown with the park. If possible, I'm hoping there can be some kind of organic connection to any restaurants that might be on the edge of the park. On the edge of the downtown to the park. Instead of looking at a parking lot, let's incorporate some experience. I don't know if you've been to New York and you've seen Central Park or many other parks. Just make sure there's a relationship between the two.
So right now, we kind of, to the west, we have the solid waste facility to our west, directly to our west. To our south, we have Pasadena Ridge, which is a new subdivision going to the south, and we are gonna connect to that with,
That's already
with the
there with
trail.
that hill, right, that we saw?
That's correct.
Yeah,
tour.
I'm not sure what's north. I think there's another development going north, and I'm not sure what's going west, but,
Commissioner
or east, I
Starkey,
mean.
If I may, Village of Pasadena Hills has various villages that serve as kind of central nodes. I wouldn't
Characterize
I
it
think
per
the big one
se.
is near this, right?
There is one just immediately to the south, and I think we had a project that came in to the board for consideration a couple of meetings ago where we were looking at multi-family and mixed-use commercial. And I think some of the feedback that we heard was kind of the layout of the commercial buildings and how that potentially could integrate within that general area. And so I think that's something that we can continue to take a look at as that project moves forward. The other thing I do want to mention is I know that in that particular village, one of the property owners that's on the northwest corner right now has not expressed interest in developing. So as we continue to develop those areas, we're going to really want to make sure that we look at those other 3 quadrants and how do those integrate together, and how do we create a sense of connectivity and walkability to the VOPH park.
When we're in Bentonville, and Keith, I don't remember did you see the amphitheater in Bentonville?
I did.
So, you're gonna see how they took the park and integrated a restaurant and a museum right on the edge of it that greatly benefits. There's great synergy between the park and the built environment right next door.
Right.
I'm just gonna say, I think you need to get some more fields out there for the athletic fields. You're serving, this is a super park, taking care of a lot more people than normal. I don't think you're carrying enough fields out there.
Well, we got an idea for more fields near there.
No, but I mean right there. I know the other fields that we talked about, but for that area right there, it's gonna be a super park. You need to have more fields that you can run bigger events that are gonna be.
How many are you having right now, Keith?
We're specking around 10 altogether.
10 multi-purpose?
Well, no.
6, 8, 9. There'll be 9 multi-purpose fields and 3 adult softball fields on the current programming.
Assuming permitting, floodplain, all those things.
Are those 2 football fields, or what are they? On this,
Yeah,
the
That's
park?
Bob Thomas.
That's the Two Rivers District Park, which,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
But are they football fields?
they would be multi-purpose fields. If anything that's a rectangle, we try to put as many sports on there as possible. If there's-
Lacrosse,
Be football,
soccer.
lacrosse,
Yeah,
soccer.
if they're 2 together, we can throw cricket in there.
Got it, okay.
And if we can figure out how to play pickleball on grass, we'll do that too, because that's needed.
No pictures of the pump park and the,
Not yet. We're getting close. We're getting close.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this one's been heavily discussed. This was the initial concept for Mag Valley. I'm just putting it out there. I understand that Jason's team's still going through the permitting, but this is in the 2015 master plan, this was identified as a location, assuming it could be used as a park. So we went ahead and just sketched up something. This shows actually rec complex, but since this was done, we were able to negotiate with Newport Corners, MPUD, and actually get 10 acres there. So we're going to be moving the rec complex, which means in terms of all that infrastructure tied to a complex could be converted to fields. So we thought that was a win, and quite honestly, the proximity to the city of Newport Richie's rec complex, it was just too close. We didn't want to compete with them. So we've been talking to them about a possible cost share and maintenance if they can give our citizens a break on access into the building. So that's what's going on there.
Let's hang on that picture for a minute.
Yep.
So, Commissioner Starkey brought up a great point about what to do for a bigger water area. If you take that water area that you have on the left side, and you go right along the whole riverbed that's all the way through there, it's not that wide, but it's low lying. If you took that whole area right in there and just made that connection, you'd have probably a good road park right there.
I don't know if that is going to hold water all the time.
Oh, it will.
But it will? Will it?
Absolutely, it will.
Okay.
I have no doubt about that.
I'm all about as many activities as we can get, so.
Well, and as well as then you can actually take the fill, put it off on property, raise up everything else so that it's higher and drier like you want it to be anyway. And you've got all the land to the front part. And you can, let's say you even take the lower part of the lake on the screen, square that off, give yourself some more space, and then just take that whole other part, cut it out. And then you've even got the fill in the back to do more things in the back, because that's all high and dry too. And that's where a lot of the fill was gonna go anyway. So I think it just would provide you a lot more opportunity, higher and drier, and you get a great lake feature too.
Understood.
Is that a walking trail over the water? I can't tell what that is.
Yes,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah.
I think you're better off if you just put a bridge coming across where the top left is where the pump is. There's a connection there, Carlton Arms is out in the back there. You've got enough room to go put a trail around the whole back around, which is great too, around that whole lake.
I think the takeaway there is this is just a high-level concept, so it's
Again,
aspirational.
this has been on print now for 10 years, so.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, it's
As
taking
we're
forever.
talking now, I think the ideas we're talking about is a way to create more storage. You get rid of that pond, the island in the pond, which never made any sense to me anyway,
Right.
as we talked about. But I think you can just create, as Commissioner Starkey says, a great little road park going across, and it could be better for other things, could be just canoeing, kayaking, whatever, where you can move on around.
Absolutely. All right, this one here is the design for redesign, I should say, of Anclote River Park. And just quick history on that, we acquired 14 acres to the north from Duke. And so now we actually have substantially more acres. The main priority there was to resolve the access issue for boater traffic. So pretty much the 14 acres to the north is gonna allow a second access point so we can get boater traffic actually in and out without congesting the, normal park usage. As it stands right now, on a busy boating day on the weekend, we have to close the park. So we're looking to get additional parking, add the secondary access, redesign some stuff, add a little more resiliency components to it, realign the actual boat ramps so that way it's safer to actually retrieve and launch your vessel, because right now it's at the angle of where they are in the intake canal. If the plant's running, could be a little bit of a challenge, so we're gonna try to go ahead and put a jetty in there. How we set up the design and the permitting on this is we should be able to proceed, TJ, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we could proceed with everything that's not in the water. Pretty close.
Right,
And then the permitting on the actual boat ramp piece is gonna take a little longer with the Corps in terms of realigning them, but because they're an existing facility, it shouldn't be too complicated. It's just really a timing thing, just waiting.
Mrs. Starkey?
We've added this permit to the list for, is Dawkins, what's her name?
Dawson?
Dawson, because we hired the same company that worked on the Army Corps permit for Ridge. And so I've asked them to, Commissioner Marion's kind of spearing that, to add this permit onto their list of things to get done.
Okay, well then we can have our existing consultant work with them if needed, so.
You know who Dawson is?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
Okay, you wanted to say something?
No, I'm just here in case you have any questions.
Okay.
Good, yeah. All right. Okay, so I think why we're all here today, opportunities and new park projects. These come to me in all various formats. So we have land acquisition swaps, additional parks not identified through concurrency in the master plan, just new community parks depending on changing community needs, maybe connected cities as an example, boat ramp projects, co-location opportunities with schools, and then the ever popular trails and trailhead discussion. So I probably missed a couple, but this is what I had on the list when I reviewed it with Mr. Calvarla and Ms. Pearson here. So we have, they also are within two categories. So there's ELANT projects, there's clearly park projects, and then the question mark is, I'm not really sure what that could be. It could be both. It could be a combination of an ELAMP acquisition and a park thing. Not exactly sure, so I left it kind of that way as a question mark. But here is basically everything that's active. And when I say active, that means my team and I are in some level of research or due diligence to figure these things out, okay? In addition to working on the active projects that we have under contract. So all of those projects require basically all these steps. Not a complaint, but work to basically go through the due diligence of things. So I'm going to go in more detail on this list later. I attempt to tie some numbers to them, but I want to be clear that in some cases I don't have any hard evidence of what the numbers should be, so just don't hold me to the numbers, honestly. But we're going to get to that in a minute. Here's the current funding sources for the department. So obviously we talked about impact fees, you have land and facilities. We talked about the GO bond, that's specifically for deferred maintenance. Of course, there's been heavy discussion on block grant and then maybe some DR funding. We have several projects that we submitted for that, and I understand there's a lot more than park projects on the list, so got to be respectful there. Of course, there's always other grants. Though I will say, none of the grants, I've been doing this almost 18 years, none of the grants come close to the type of money that we need to do any of these park projects. And then of course, the general fund allocation. I like to call that the Hunger Games meeting, where we go in there and we battle to the death over basically $1.5 million, and I'm arm wrestling animal services or whoever else in facilities. Yeah, it's not a great opportunity. And then of course the bond. And then this is another funding source, but the process is clear and the restrictions are heavier. So you have the Environmental Lands Acquisition Management Program funded through the penny. Focus on that is ecological corridors, buying anything that has environmentally sensitive value. Of course, we manage it. We try to focus on public access, and we also recently have been including trails where it makes sense through our Greenways program. On the bottom note there, and I don't know if this number's correct, but on average, that funding source brings in about 9 to 11 million annually. And that's going to run through, I don't know if it's 2040 or 2039, because the last penny was 15 years. Is it 2039? Does anyone know? No? Okay. It's a long time. So anyway, that's the funding there. So TJ did stay up there. So this is kind of where we get into maybe the not so fun part of the presentation. And I apologize not making this clear, but what we did is we took our revenues and we compared it to the existing budgets. And so in FY26, if you see something that has a negative, that means that's money we already have budgeted to the actual project in a capital account. As we go through, you're going to see on the bottom there, you have your totals of your expenditures, your delta, your expected revenue, and then you kind of see where everything goes sideways a little bit based on where we led this conversation at the beginning was construction costs. So the first one is West, and TJ, I don't know if you want to help us walk us through this. I have it in front of me, but what I attempted to do was highlight the projects that are tied to the capital plan and the impact fee study. So that's everything that's highlighted, which means that in terms of the Parks Department, they're a priority. So if you look at Anclote River Park, you see that in FY27, what we need to get that project off the ground is $19 million. New Moon Lake Park over there, we call it the Triangle Park because the parcel's shaped like a triangle. Even though we're applying for some grants through the block grant process, which recently opened up, that's $125,000. We have Strickland Memorial Park redesign, $750,000. That's just, again, design. The bridge replacement at Starkey Wilderness Park, $1.2 million. And then I'm gonna stop there because the numbers get pretty, it doesn't get any better after
Mr.
that.
Yeager.
Keith, just a question, what are you even thinking about doing with Triangle Park?
So we, Commissioner, we did a rough concept in fencing just to secure the facility, cleaning it up, probably putting a couple pavilions and maybe a small playground. And that's pretty much about, I think, what the design is as of today.
Really?
Mhm.
I mean, could we do something less expensive, like maybe like a community garden or something like that? I mean, I don't know, just
Yeah.
something,
Yeah.
I just don't see that park being used a whole lot.
I mean, we can do whatever the community wants. There's playground equipment there now. I wouldn't say that it's.
Oh, yeah, it's not safe,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
not safe, so.
Right.
Fencing alone would probably be 20, I think the cost quote was around 20-something
I think it was
thousand.
under 30, yeah, just under
Around 30.
30,000 for the fence.
So my concern because it's surrounded by roads, you really don't want to advocate it being any type of public asset
Well, that's what I was thinking,
Yeah.
like,
without securing it.
yeah,
I mean, we could just do benches and pavilions and not do a small playground's gonna run around $60,000. And then you have to install it, which is gonna be another $5,000 or $7,000. We're gonna handle all the cleanup ourselves. I know Public Works has offered to help, so none of those costs include cleaning it up or maintaining it. It's just the initial infrastructure.
yeah, I'm just wondering if it's worth that money to put into that space. Like, what can we do that's something that's inexpensive, that maybe
Well,
the,
What we could do is we can maybe I know you're pretty active in holding community meetings. We can do some outreach and see what they would want to see.
what about a dog park?
That would be pretty easy.
That's a great idea.
How expensive is a dog park? You don't have to have,
It's not expensive. It's the maintenance is the problem with the dog
Oh,
park. Because
okay.
it quickly becomes just dirt.
Yeah.
And then you're reseeding and you're,
I'm just thinking of the location of Triangle Park.
Mhm.
They have the beautiful, huge park there.
Mhm.
I just don't wanna see a lot of money put into that tiny space in the middle of nowhere.
okay.
So I'm just trying to think out of the box, what we could put there that's not gonna cost the county a ton of money to maintain, and that won't get ruined.
Well, what we'll do is we'll revisit the planning. I mean, the nice thing about the concept we have is we don't have to do all elements. You know, I
Okay.
think step one is probably just cleaning it up.
Absolutely.
And then securing it, and
Yep.
then we could pause from there, but, I understood that was the direction at least to do initially, so.
Yes,
okay.
just to fence it in and get the unsafe equipment off of the property.
Yep.
Mow the grass, okay.
Yep. And I know Branford's not here, so I'm gonna take advantage that he's not here. He did promise to pay for the fencing, so that's what I heard.
He's not here for
TJ,
Branford to fend
did you hear that?
himself.
I heard that, so. It was actually at our meeting, I think. I think Mike heard it too.
We are applying currently for a CDBG grant for that.
Yeah,
You know, so we are putting in an application for that for $150,000 to try to get CDBG money to do the work over there, so.
Okay,
So we should hear about that, I think, in another month or so, if we're able to get that.
I'm an
Keith.
advocate for dog park, just saying.
I like the idea.
Keith, I think your takeaway here is your revenues are insufficient.
Yes.
Okay.
And Keith,
Yeah.
I want to thank the board as well, but the investments in Sunwest Park over the past couple of years have been great. That trail going around there, it's going to help a lot of nonprofits with 5K runs, going to create a lot of attention up there. Matter of fact, the opioid group that was just out there marching forward to stop opioid addiction is going to donate, I think, $2,400 to the parks for their summer camp program.
Awesome.
They gave 5A money for programs that they got going on, so that type of thing out there is great. But well, I know you're working on some things, but I don't see it on the list here, so I need to bring it up so the board's familiar with it, but
Yeah.
we're talking about the volleyball fields that are out there. We had a beach volleyball thing that was there, and they tried to play, and because there was no drainage ever put into it, the water would just sit there, and literally me and two other guys were out there with blowers, digging channels, trying to blow the water out to get it to the water to go. It was embarrassing, but, two people there said that if you put drainage underneath, it would help. The other thing that would help, and if we set the drainage up as well, you could bring it out forward, put a retaining wall type thing, and then from that, all the water could flow right out easily into the water that's there. What that will also do is take from 14 fields that we have, bring it to 21, which is a major improvement. Plus, it makes it in better condition. And it would lead to where we would want to go put a stage out along the water, where you get a natural amphitheater effect, setting all the way around there. It would really do tremendous work for that park. And that would free up all your events when you have them, you don't take up the parking that's there. They can just be around the lake that's out there too. But I don't see that on there.
So it's not on this because we're gonna attempt to resolve that through the operating budget this
Okay.
year.
Yeah.
And so that's actually moving forward.
Okay.
TJ, I don't know where we are on getting a design on the retaining wall, but we, through last year's budget, we were able to secure some money to actually have replacement sand at all the beach parks. And so we're gonna reallocate some of that funding into a one-time expense on this wall and then hopefully get that done.
So in saying that, just with all the great work you're doing, I just thought that should be at least highlighted to say
Yeah.
another improvement's being made.
Yeah.
Mr. Stark?
I love all that, and I'm a big supporter of Sun West, but I think the money that's been going to Sun West is the money that we were gonna use for Anklet River Park. So, no, you didn't, because we had the money for Anklet, now we don't have the money for Anklet, so what happened?
Okay, so we had Go Bond money, and then when we did the original estimate, it came in at 7 million or so. And then when we got closer to finished permitting, it came in much, much larger, like 15 to 19 million. So at that point, we weren't even sure where we were gonna go on design, if we were gonna, get redesign done. And we had all these other projects that were on the list for Go Bond, so we just deployed the funding to those other projects. One good example is Pine Hill renovation. So that's kind of what we did there. In terms of impact fees, because Anklet River Park is an existing park facility, you can only use it, and I'm looking at Jeff here, and David and I have talked, Goldstein, but you can only, is David here?
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, I'm glad you're here. Thank you. You can tell me if I'm wrong here or not, but we can only fund elements of the actual park project that expands capacity. So where we added 14 acres, where we added, extra parking and drive aisles and things like that, it's an eligible expense, but we can't use impact fees for the entire project
But you could
itself.
use the Go Bonds.
But we could, but because cost overruns were happening on all the other projects that we were doing.
So the money went to the other projects.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And
But
understand,
not Starkey and SunWest.
we're closing the park because there isn't capacity. When we get to a point, I want to talk about who's using our boat ramps. Is it, how much of the people coming into that park are coming from another county?
Yeah.
And see if we need to do something about that, so.
So just to,
So you want me to shed a little light on that? Just to shed a little light on the spreadsheet, kind of what we did there was we took the projections from the impact fees over the next, 5 to 10 years. We took the budgets, and basically what we budgeted for a district park was $50 million, which, I know it sounds crazy, but that's on the low end for a district park
Yeah.
these days. They're a lot of money. So as we programmed them out, in the master plan, I think it was 22, 28, and 33 were the years that things were supposed to come online. A lot of the stuff was already supposed to be online from 23, but we're currently working on. So that's kind of what shows, unfortunately, it shows a big number there. I realize that. And some of the money that you see in the FY26 column, like especially for VOPH, it is an impact fee based. It was the loan, and also, not for VOPH, but it was some money that we received a few years ago for VOPH. So that wasn't even impact fee based. So, basically what this shows is if we are to try to build everything that we say we're gonna build, the impact fees just aren't gonna get us where we need to get. I think even if we reduce our parks and start just putting a hay of grass on top of dirt, we're still, I think we're still gonna be at a negative.
Yeah, when you get into FY27, you look at trying to bring the other, start adding funding to some of the other projects that are in the capital plan. By FY28, you're in the whole 33 million. So that's
And
basically what that.
And I think East shows a good number. I mean, East kind of looks good all the way up until 33 when Winfields comes online, and then once that major project comes in, the numbers obviously go south quick, so. And that's based on 50 million today, you know, who knows what 50 million is gonna buy us in 2033.
Yeah. All right, unless there's any questions on West? Okay, so Central, sort of the same story in Central. So in Central, you lead off with Cruise Lake expansion. You have this boardwalk project that's funded through the penny. You have a trailhead that I've been trying to get off the ground for, 12 years, working with the Expressway Authority. Then Connerton District Park and the Land O'Lakes Skate Park. Those are actually the larger facilities that we're trying to get off the ground. Again, reminder, FY '26, everything that's negative there is the existing fund balance. So we have that money. You start to get into FY '28 where you're asking for 17.5 million to kind of get Connerton off the ground, and FY '28 and '29, and you pretty much start to go negative around 29 to the tune of 17 million. And that's just today's revenue projections.
Keith, is this a pay-go strategy?
I guess it depends on, I mean, it worked with the others. So if that's what you talk about taking a loan? Mike?
Well, I made a mental note of your central impact fee projections, and they were definitely seven-figure numbers. If I look at this, I'm seeing, all right, negative 25, -4, so we'll say a $65 million program. Could debt service buy that down and get all these projects done?
I don't want to speak for, we didn't do the financial analysis. We typically do that in each zone like we did with East, but I will say when we started this back in 2016, the estimated cost was $220 million. If you add all these zones up based on what we're looking at today, on the numbers that we've seen, we're at around 530, 550 million. So, Mr. Carbala, I mean, if we could do something sooner, we're just going to save money. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. The numbers don't go the other way. They just they go the wrong way for us, and that means that we're doing less. I couldn't tell you how excited I was when we got the increase, and we wouldn't be having this conversation without those funds. Actually, wasn't a
Surprise.
Scary time. But we wouldn't even be talking about this if we didn't have those in place. Quite honestly. But yes, if the actual fund can support the debt service like it did in East, like it did in West, then I would strongly recommend that's something we do, at least for the #1 ranked projects like Connerton District Park. And that's in a service area where we're just struggling on park service, period.
Thank you. Yeah,
If I can follow up.
go ahead.
So the problem you're gonna have, though, is you really can't bond impact fee revenue. And you have, because it's, the purchasers of bonds don't look at impact fee revenue as a stable source. And so then you are backing it up with a budget, covenant to budget and appropriate. You've already done that for some of your projects, so there'll be a lot of financial.
Yeah, there'd have to be a broader conversation on what our bonding capacity is, and I know we've had conversations about that, but in the grand scheme of things, if that's a priority for the board, that's where we can start to focus and get some of these projects out of the ground quicker.
Commissioner Waitman?
Thank you. So, with the Cruise Lake expansion, I guess two things here. I'll start with the Cruise Lake expansion. Is part of this to clean up the lake and get all the hyacinths and everything under control out there? I mean, we have Cruise Lake Park, but you can doggone near walk across it because it's so overgrown. And I just think that through this process, we need to understand what it would take to at least clean up that portion of the park and the waterway. There's got to be some level of grants or something out there. Isn't that a closed basin anyway? I mean, I just think with all the environmental, everything that's running around right now, we at least clean up that water body and make it, one of the unique asset of the park. Cruise Lake, and you go there and you don't even know there's a lake.
Yeah.
So,
can I respond to that real quick?
Yeah, if you know what the price is.
Well, no, I don't know what the price would be very high, but we did work with utilities and Mike, you know the history of this too, the recharge effort, where we were attempting to actually recharge Cruz Lake through reclaimed. And that's one way, and I think that if you can get the water level back up, a lot of that aquatic vegetation that you see would be submerged and wouldn't be so much of an issue. You'd get more open water features. Unfortunately, that didn't actually go anywhere. From a permitting perspective,
Keith,
we
can I
would.
touch on it for a second, though?
Yeah,
All
absolutely.
right, so there was years ago, we were up in Tallahassee when Corcoran was president, speaker. And while we're up there, we've got this flyer that shows Cruz Lake done from the previous summer, where it's a full lake. And then we're up there looking for money for it. And what had happened sometimes up there, it fluctuates where the water goes, when it goes, why it goes, we don't know. But sometimes that lake is full, sometimes it's dry. And it's gonna continue to vary, and they studied it really closely years ago to figure out what we have to do. And I think the number was, at that time, was over $10 million. They says, you know what, we gotta bail from this program. We don't know if it's gonna work, number one, or it's the right way to spend money, number two. So it's just either man-made or natural features, whatever's causing that thing to go up and go down. And there's just no way to clearly identify what the fix is, and then spend it a whole bunch more money than what this is even talking about.
And Commissioner, even if we did get a permit to, let's say, excavate some of the native aquatic vegetation there, it would be, less than 12 inches deep. So it wouldn't be long before you were right back basically in the same situation. So, just a challenging project, unfortunately, but,
Okay, and then back to the Connerton District Park area. That park is going to, like you said, Connerton's been on the map for what, almost 20 years now? So we've known that this area, Central Pasco, is gonna need it. It's gonna serve, this park will serve a pile of kids coming out of Lynn Angeline in the Bexley area, especially on the northern half, especially once the Ridge Road extension pops out and Sun Lake and everything else. This is another park that's gonna end up like Wesley Chapel District Park. Overcapacity in a very short period of time. This is subjective, I think, based on the growth and looking at the dynamic of the families it's moving in. And it's gonna be drawing kids from all over the place and have a similar scenario as what VOPH and Connected City are. Just adding a pile of traffic and kids and families trying to get to and from, to get there. So, sounds like we're still up in the air on it. If you look at strategically getting parks built, we've known this has needed to be here for 20-some years. This area is booming, and it's going to serve it, and we're going to end up with a Wesley Chapel District Park plus a hybrid of VOPH and Connected City. So, knowing that, and with, the last phases of Connerton coming online, and then within Lynn Angeline building out, and Bexley building out, is there a way to somehow capture some of those funds? Like you did, like the same agreement with Connected City and VOPH to at least get Connerton, start getting it stood up? I mean, it's gonna be a mess.
yeah. The good news on this one is if you see it says, minus 19,
Right.
minus 20. So we've been sending whatever revenue we get to that project. So, thank you to the board for now having basically a chief capital expert, right, to help us. We're going to go ahead and pursue an RSQ for design on that project to get it started as quickly as possible. In terms of revenue that's being collected, I mean, we're already funneling all the revenue in Central is pretty much going to this project right now. So any home, any dwelling unit that gets, whether it's apartment or single family, it pops, that money goes right to this project.
But
So-
what I'm getting at, instead of holding the fees for, say, the Project Arthur site, you
We're
like
not.
what?
That's what he's saying. He's saying 100% right now
It
is
is
being
going-
diverted to
Yeah,
Connerton.
so what we, through the budgeting process, we basically look at our build-out scenarios on the phases, 1, 2, and 3 of the impact fee. I'll sit with my team, we'll sit with OMB, and we'll say, we make sure we have a capital project. Our number one project in that zone is Connerton Park. All money goes there until we have enough to stand it up. So instead of waiting till we have 50 or 60 million, we're gonna pull the trigger on getting something shelf-ready underneath 19, knowing that 19 will not be enough, but it'll surely pay for design. I'm not a big fan of phasing because phasing causes its own challenges in terms of construction. You always end up missing something, but I kind of really liked Mike's idea of seeing if the fund can actually support debt service, because like we did with Two Rivers and may do with the Dade City Recreation Complex and Shelter, we're going to save money. And Commissioner Waitman, to your point, Connerton District Park has not been an unknown. It's been on the map, pulled down when that DRI first actually came to the county. So we've known for a long, long time that has to be what it's supposed to be, which is a district park.
So with knowing this, I don't know if there's any road folks here, but as this comes online, and if this part comes online quicker than the Collier Parkway expansion and improvements to Aaron Cutoff, I know it's a separate bucket, but there needs to be some parallel work going on there with what that's also going to do. If this park comes online, Aaron Cutoff is already starting to have massive challenges as it is since Connerton opened up on that road. And then if we can't get somehow the Collier Parkway expansion moving forward, we're just gonna step in our own pile of mess. So if Keith's moving at the pace he's moving, we need to look at the road infrastructure surrounding it, because like I said, it's gonna be just as busy as Wesley Chapel District Park.
I'd like Mr. Allen to maybe speak to the transportation planning piece tied to the MPUDs. I think a lot of that was contemplated, but I'll let David
Before we
speak
get,
to it.
before we get to that, just bring up, we'll go back to the other station. I don't want to get lost in the shuffle. You don't want to phase in because it makes it more complicated. But again, you get $19 million. It might be good to go try to look at just a 30,000 foot view sketch of what you want to see out there, and then maybe go take a section and another section,
Right.
and if need be a third section, and go build them one at a time, designing them intensely one at a time, because at least you get something in the ground
Right.
to get going.
Yep,
Go
absolutely.
ahead, Dave.
Yeah, and I was going to mention on particularly with the Collier development, you know, it's getting closer and closer to build out, and that's one of the things that we have on our capital plan is the expansion of Collier Road. I think in the area in general, though, I think our highest priority, quite frankly, is going to be that 52 corridor. And we're working with FDOT on that. But as we're finishing the Collier Parkway, or the Connerton development, is securing the right-of-way and making sure that we have the Collier Parkway expansion included, so that we alleviate that Aaron cutoff traffic that we have that we know is not going to be sufficient to support Connerton as it fully builds out.
I have a quick question.
They're on it.
How many
Commissioner.
fields are there gonna be at, Connerton?
We haven't even actually started that process.
Okay.
I will tell you, Commissioner, that when we do our needs assessment, we create baseline information. So how many individuals do we need per multi-purpose field, per baseball field, per whatever? And so we have our wish list that we like to say, well, this park has to hold this many, this many fields. Unfortunately, site configuration, some of the properties that we've actually inherited through some of the zoning isn't the best layout or the site conditions, so we get stuck with weird configurations. Rectangles are very specific, geometry. So it either ends up costing us more money to impact the site, or we get less fields. But I could tell you, and I don't have the information in front of me, but I know exactly, we have it mapped out, how many fields we need to get in that service area. Now, unfortunately, we probably won't be able to get everything we need, but 82 acres or 78 acres we have under control at Connerton, we should be able to do something positive, for sure.
Keep going.
If we're good, I'll go to the east. Okay, so remember, east actually has the VOPH Connected Cities revenues and things like that and projects. So again, highlighted the projects that are a priority based on the approved capital plan. The big ones here you need to talk about or look at is the Bob Thomas Memorial District Park, look at the existing fund balance, and same thing with the Dade City Rec Complex. And so to TJ's comment earlier, east is looking a little bit better, and that's a good situation. So and predominantly it's looking better because we actually went out for a loan and we started with a big pot of money. And then you obviously have the corresponding debt service. And then TJ, I don't know if you wanted to talk about the difference between East and VOPH in terms of the phasing of the projects, but you could, if you want, you can talk about the budget on that based on what we know today.
Yeah, so I mean, East, again, the big one in East is I think Bob Thomas is the big one today. I mean, we also have the shelter / gymnasium. So right now, we're going out, I think the RSQ just hit the street for Bob Thomas as far as design. So we you know, probably in the next 4 or 5 months, we'll have a designer on board to start the actual design of that. That's kind of why that's pushed out. You see the 12 million and the 4.5 million going out to 28 and 29, because we kind of have 27 as our design year. And then VOPH, currently we're in schematic design right now, so we have, you know, we have a pretty good set of program plans that we're getting ready to jump into design development, which means we start putting in the specs and what we're gonna build the stuff and type of air conditioner, stuff like that. You know, right now we have 23 million in that pot. Our original price back from our CM was kind of crazy, so we've asked them to go back and do a little better. I mean, again, that's all based on historical numbers, and if, you know, I did a little research on parks being built around the state, and the numbers are crazy everywhere. I mean, Sarasota's adding on to one of their parks. They're spending like 65 million to just add on to one of their parks, so there is, you know, there is a lot of money being spent on parks. So with
We're
VOP,
afraid to say the number out loud more than 3 times, because like Beetlejuice, then it'll actually be the real number.
So this projection right here is based on 70, as you see in the parentheses, as based on spending $73 million at VOPH Super Park and another 10 million on the bike park. So I mean that 90 or 300 acres there would be $90 million to develop that land. 90 of it being the active park and 200 of it being the passive / bike park.
So TJ, go back to, what do we expect design cost to be?
So no, design was just under 4 million for the design. Design usually runs you 7% of the so
Capital
design was
cost.
right around $4 million.
And that's both, Commissioner Marion, that's both projects. That's both the bike park and the actual district park itself.
You good with that number?
I'm not allowed to bid professional services by state law, so.
If you put a range out there as far as what your caps are, might that drive the cap down?
So most consultants use what's called the DMS curve. It's a state curve where they just basically put in the budget and they put in the complexity of the park, and there's different levels based on complexity, and it spits out a number. To be honest with you, it gives you that number. They're not sitting there figuring hours, which I know Eric hates, because he's, you know, he likes the hours to be in there, but. You know, most engineers, most architects, I mean, I say most, I think everyone that I've worked with in the 20 years that I've been with the county, you know, since the DMS curve has been around, uses the DMS curve. They don't count hours. Civil guys sometimes count hours, you know, for the civil side, because the DMS curve doesn't cover the civil. It just covers the architectural and the MEP and the construction administration at the end. So I mean, it's basically an algorithm that somebody created that they're all using, and you know, if you ask the architects, that they're going to tell you you're better off with it. It's going to be more if we start adding hours in, but you know, that's up for debate. But
And the other thing to call out on these projects too is we're using the construction manager at risk at the start of the process, which is something we've never done in the Parks Department. So what that's gonna give us is a guaranteed max price. They're gonna be able to work with our design engineer and the architect on offering recommendations to maybe lower the cost, based on the specifications conversation that we had earlier. I think we have our premier goal, and then we have several levels that we can kind of work back from. Again, the focus is, it's kind of like roads, right? So for us, you know, we don't want to design a road that fails immediately, you know, once it's built. So in terms of these new parks facilities, what we're seeing through the needs assessment is, you know, our existing inventory, our existing gymnasiums are out there. They don't have the capacity to support the population that we're seeing here. So maybe a couple more activity rooms, or in some cases, 3 gymnasiums, not 2. And when I say gymnasia, I just 3 and underneath 1 roof. You know, so it's, I'm hoping that this is going to be a benefit. What it won't be is a surprise at construction. So what we won't get is a permitted site plan, and then we think the number's something, and then all of a sudden we go out for construction and we're like, we need another $50 million. We're going to know that number's going to be locked in specifically through the process, right, TJ?
correct.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yes. As the commissioners know, locked in as long as our plans are good. You know, I mean, if we if we have mistakes in the plans, that they, they're bidding on the set of plans we give them. If there's mistakes on the plans, then they're obviously, they're gonna come back to us for that,
So
as we learn from the
what
jail.
clawback do we have for these plans? Let's say they're not done properly. Let's say we don't build the field high enough, put enough fill in.
This happened at Starkey.
There's professional liability
Yeah, we're good.
insurance. Yeah, go ahead.
Did we
Yeah,
get
no,
the-
that's,
did
Mike's
that-
correct.
Did that
We're-
play out in Starkey?
It did not, but this is, I think, gonna be a very different situation, so.
Does that happen in Wiregrass Ranch too?
It did not happen. Yeah, we were good at Wiregrass. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the project costs $15 million.
Yeah, so,
I'd
I
say.
mean, quick history lesson, I mean, like I said, I've been doing capital since the Gallagher days, so I've seen the whole different way things are being done. Speaking of Wiregrass Sports Campus and speaking of pre-engineered metal buildings, that is a pre-engineered metal building, Wiregrass Sports Campus. Back 2019, I want to say that total project was around 28 million, with the building probably being somewhere in the $20 million range for close to 100,000 square foot. So yeah, I mean, pre-COVID, that's $200 a foot, which sounds great, but unfortunately, post-COVID, I mean, as we saw with fire stations and, I mean, again, I don't want to bore you with stuff, but when fire stations, we got the go bond, we went out to build the fire stations. We built a 17,000 square foot fire station number 9, and we also built, well, 17 is a different story, but we bid out 17 as a hard bid and 9. Pre-COVID, they came in at a little over $4.5 million for 9, which is a single story, and a little over $5 million for 17, which was a 2-story. 10 months later, we bid out 20, I believe. It went from $4.5 million to $7.5 million. Same building, same everything. Nothing changed.
And your contractor walked away from 17.
Well,
right?
17, yeah. 17, we lost the contractor. That was basically COVID put that contractor out of business. I mean, if they were to finish our fire station 17, they probably would have spent $1.5 million of their own money to finish our fire station 17.
The previous one, I think the contract lost like $500,000.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I think the previous one, contract lost like $500,000, but
So yes, 9, that contractor actually spent $500,000 of his own, of their company money to build our fire station 9, because they obviously didn't want to lose their bonding capacity and go bad. So those 2 stations, so then we went out about 10 months later with fire stations 3 and 18, and those went from $7.5 million to $9.5 million. So in a matter of a year and a half, our fire stations went from
Same exact fire station?
same exact building, and then we downsized it. So now we downsized it. We lost a couple thousand square feet, and now we're 10 million.
Rightfully so.
Now we're 10 and 11 million. I mean, some of that has to do with the site. Different sites cost different money, but I mean, unfortunately, COVID really put a hamper on capital. I mean, we were all excited when we had the go bond. We were going to build a jail. We were going to build 9 fire stations. We were going to build a training facility. We were going to build all this stuff with all this money. And then COVID happened, and that money kind of was half of what it was before. So the same problem with parks. We have. So we went out. So we did Wiregrass Sports Campus. We built the building. We did not build the fields because we didn't have the money at the time. So we just built the building, and the fields became phase 2. They did bid the fields, and let me say that the fields weren't the fields that we have today. That they were more the old style fields, just no under drain. So if it rains, they're going to get soaked. So we didn't build the fields. We got about a $5 million. That saved us about $5 million in phase 1. So when we went back out a few years later to build the same fields, again, they were a little nicer. They had under drain. They were flat. They were more tournament-ready fields. We spent $15 million on those same fields.
So
I mean,
the takeaway is when you look at the VOPH section there, knowing what we know, and we didn't say the number out loud, but TJ kind of baked it in here, you can see that we're in FY27, we have the need of $32 million. So where that would come from, it would have to come from someplace else or east, and then you're defunding one of those other projects at east. And to make it even more complicated, and this is where I'm glad David is here, because VOPH, we thought VOPH was 100% funded back when we started this project back in 2022, it was not included as a project in the impact fee study. So technically, we can't use impact fee funds to even offset any overruns for cost. Now, we could, based on the criteria that I showed you earlier, you can make a recommendation and modify something, but that means you're deleting something of equal value off the list someplace else. David, I get that right for the most part? I got the thumbs up, okay. I think, TJ, I think we're good on the capital side.
I think
for
we
right
beat,
now.
I think we
Yeah,
beat it to
You
death.
gonna stay? All right, okay. All right. Moving on real quick, because I want to get
hang
to.
on.
Hey,
Commissioner
Keith,
Whitman?
Oh,
Keith,
yes, sir.
not for nothing, but there's people that come before this board and ask for a heck of a lot more money. And this is a lot more palatable conversation than probably some of the others we have from other departments or other parts of our world.
Should I double my request?
No, I mean, look,
I think everyone heard it, okay.
I'll go on the record with this, and I'm crystal clear, especially during the budget, and this is about money in the budget. I very much appreciate department directors advocating for their branches and asking for funds, and to see passion behind it. And if I don't see that, then that tells me you're not excited about your job, right? I'm not saying you're not, but it's okay, suit up, go to war, and we made a decision, but you're doing the right thing.
Well, I feel like I want to say war sounds like a very aggressive term, but I've been advocating assertively for probably 7 or 8 years
War
on this.
versus Hunger Games?
Yeah.
or-
Yeah, you're right, I didn't use that, I didn't use it, that's fair, okay. All right, so.
So don't be bashful, Keith,
All right,
just lay it
fair
out
enough.
here.
All right, okay, so, talking about revenues and budget, I cannot, we can't talk about budget without talking about ELAM. So this is ELAM's budget. I previously mentioned you get around 9 to 11 million a year. We just had a tremendous acquisition in a partnership with the state on the 4G project, $68 million in acquisition. County fronted that $34 million. We have several other projects through the ecological corridor ordinance that are running through. I brought this slide out because I think we might get to a point, Mike, where we need to consider maybe doing some bonding on this one, because we have several active projects that have been to the board through the acquisition list, and we're kind of working on some contracts, and we just pretty much cashed out the fund balance for the most part. The good news is the revenues seem to be increasing, or at least stable for the most part. So I think there's some potential there to do some loans and maybe secure these acquisitions. So, but the other thing that's interesting here and on the bottom is we talk about infrastructure. So Kathy and Mike, we talked about taking the flexibility built into the penny to allow some infrastructure and natural resources projects. And so what you see there is us committing to actually making these ELAMP properties open to the public, doing some infrastructure stuff, where the team is actively working on what we're gonna be calling something like Cruise Lake Watershed Regional something park, I don't know yet. But the point there is there's parking lot, there's on-site security, there's gonna be a massive trail system. It's 2,000 acres, some equestrian use. It's gonna be a pretty fantastic facility, and we're using some proceeds from the penny to actually make that happen. So I just wanted to put that out there. Commissioner Stark.
Have you met with the guys that said they were willing to advance the money to help build some of the horse facilities?
I never miss an opportunity if someone's saying they're gonna
Don't you
advance the
remember?
money.
You were in
I'm
the,
drawing a blank.
oh, it's with Homes by West Bay.
Oh, yes, I have not met with them yet, no.
Oh, well.
No, okay.
Yeah, they're very interested in doing that.
What are they interested in doing?
So they're building.
It's on the Mosquito parcel.
They're building, no, it's not Mosquito.
No, it's not
Parcel.
that one.
The Mitchell 41. And right, they're right next to the Jumping Gully,
Mhm.
and which is gonna have equestrian. And so when they heard that, they're very interested in helping to fund the quality equestrian facility against impact fee credits as a, it'd be great for their project. They're building very expensive homes there.
Yeah, yeah.
What's wrong?
No,
Did I say something
You just
wrong?
credited on your central
Yeah.
impact fees.
What?
I remember the conversation now. I need to circle back around
Yeah.
and get with them.
You know, that, out of that park is the Massac Town Channel, or canal, or whatever. And you can horseback ride for miles. It's a great asset for the county to have equestrian in that park. Yeah.
All right. Okay. This is a list, and it's in alphabetical order, so it's not in prioritization. I didn't rank them. But this is basically a summary of all the projects that I showed you in the beginning, the new projects, the opportunity projects that come our way through various means, right? And what I attempted to do is break them down by type, whether they'd be park or E-Lamp. Then I attempted to break them down by impact fee zone. And then with whatever information I had, I threw some numbers out there. So if there's two numbers, the first one is land, rough estimate on land, and then rough estimate on facility cost. And I wanted to put this up there just to kind of, based on, after reviewing the budgets, what this, you know, for example, if we look at Hopkins, and we see that that's gonna be roughly 16, whatever million that's gonna be. I kinda wanna wait for Commissioner Waitman on some of this, but, the question is if East is only producing 5 million over 5 years in land, how are we gonna pursue that acquisition? There's some school projects that are on there that are great, and I think that there's a lot of opportunities there to work with the school board specifically. I didn't talk about that, but I can dive into that in a little more detail. That's where we we're considering using some school board property and making an investment where we would then have control of the facilities after hours and on the weekends. And in the West Market area, where even if today we built out all the fields in the master plan, we would still be deficient in fields, that's a great opportunity. The question is, that's approximately $4 million. You know, are we talking about the general fund in terms of a request for that? And again, I can go down the list, so I think that what I'm looking for today, I'm actually gonna make a recommendation in terms of what we should do too, but I wanted to put all of them out there. And now that we went through the budget for each impact fee zone, and hopefully you get a feeling for where we are financially, there's not a lot of room to deviate from the capital plan unless we make a big change somewhere else. And that's kind of the purpose, you know, at least for me. Kathy asked me, well, what do you want to get out of this workshop? And I think for myself and my team specifically, we want clarity on direction. So Commissioner Waitman, what we did is we have the list here. We're just talking about all the opportunity projects and how we're going to pursue them. So I'll
I just have a question. Kathy Pearson, just a question, Keith. On this list, is there any way you can identify for the commissioners, number one, if you have no funding or you do have funding, and what part of funding you're asking from general funds? I mean, just so they have an idea.
That's a great, yeah, and I probably could have clarified that a little better. So when you look at this list, if you look at everything that has an E-Lamp reference there in terms of type, I think we're okay there, and I'm going to get to that, I think, on the next slide. But when you look at everything that says park, if we prioritize the projects in the capital plan, there is no funding to pursue any of these projects. And so that's kind of, I think, again, the purpose for the workshop for me is, one, to call that to everyone's attention. Maybe there's some bonding we can do. Maybe there's some general fund allocations we can do. I'm not exactly certain, but like I did say earlier, I do have a recommendation, and the recommendation for me is what's going to benefit parks immediately and based on service area, and that's kind of how I get to the recommendation. But if we focus on these from the capital plan that was tied to the impact fee study, everything highlighted is referenced back to the budget sheets that we just reviewed. And if you recall that, we were pretty much going negative in 27 and 28 on most of all of these based on the anticipated costs of these. So if we focus on these, there is no money for this unless it's an E-Lamp project. And then in that case, I think we can bond E-Lamp and then take down the E-Lamp projects in order of, you know, prioritization, meaning ecological corridors first, ecological planning units next, or anything else that has a high environmentally sensitive value. So I'm gonna pause there for, I guess, questions, and then I can go to my recommendation slide.
Keith, I'm not sure if the entire board is necessarily familiar with some of these. Do you think you can
Yeah, I've never heard
give
some of
these
them.
maybe
Yeah,
a
that's a good
quick
point.
15-second intro on what they are?
Yeah.
And again, to Keith's point, you know, there are various funding mechanisms. Some of these projects we're considering for DR funding. There's opportunities there. General fund is that. But as Keith points out, There's a lot of opportunity that's out there. As I mentioned, we have a plan. If we want to pivot from that plan, that's okay. And some of these are actually great opportunities. We just need to make sure that we're aligned in how we want to approach those. And just know that we're looking at alternative funding. But right now, as Keith says, there's a lot of pressure on that park number. So if it's got a park next to it, there's a lot of pressure on that fund. Doesn't mean that there may not be alternatives or ways that we can look at it, and we're doing that.
And I apologize if I missed a project. I thought, I thought I got them all, but there's a good chance I didn't get them. All right, so Avalon Park, so that is over in Avalon Park. It's approximately 23 acres. It's references a community park location within a development. The developer approached us, actually, about partnering on us taking the land and building something quicker, which would be an asset on the 56 corridor. I think it's 56 corridor. I tried to map all these out, but it got 54. Yeah, I
It was
tried to
too
map them
unwieldy.
all out.
It wouldn't have told the story.
Yeah, so the goal there is, you can add a community park within a pretty high need. Configuration's not wonderful. You need money for land, you need money for facilities. Blackwell is,
I hate to interrupt, but this is, I think, a big thing, because you talked earlier about not taking your neighborhood parks that you gotta put in, and now it seems like it's a neighborhood park that we're gonna go.
He's calling this one a community park, not necessarily a neighborhood
I
park.
understand
Yeah.
that, but I'm just saying, what are they doing for the neighborhood parks?
Well, okay.
it's a good question. So, and I think I'm gonna probably maybe put that one to the side because planning's doing some research. I'm almost certain that the developer met their neighborhood park requirements. This may or may not have been connected to that. That's, I think, a point of the research that needs to be concluded.
Okay.
All right. Good question, though, Commissioner. Blackwell, Elant property up along the Antelope River corridor. We pretty much have a contract in place. Don't see any issues with funding there. We have fund balance to take care of that. Burke's expansion is, I don't know if that's 15 acres, Tammy, or 10 acres. It's a rectangle of land right up against 52, right adjacent to the existing Burke's Park. Outstanding opportunity. It would allow for expansion of Burke's. Parks need to be expanded, so we've been negotiating with that property owner. Asking price is $5 million.
To add to that, it's important. So the Pasco County Fairgrounds, you know where you park? Fair Association doesn't own that. If the owner, it's a long-term lease. If the owner decides to sell that hill, it'll decimate Pasco County Fair, because they have nowhere to park, folks. So only way that they could really figure out a way to have parking is to use Burke's Park on the east side of 52. So this site, there's implications to potentially capturing this site for multiple jurisdictions there. So this site's probably a little bit more important than we would initially expect it to be. So just put that on the record.
All right, next one is Connected Cities. I think we're all familiar with that. Kind of briefly talked about how Connected Cities kicked their park requirement over to VOPH. I think some members of the community approached the board at many hearings, and we're concerned about getting a community park there, so we've identified possible utilities parcel as an ideal location within the development. Got to pay utilities back. Joseph's never going to let me take land for free. So maybe,
$1
I
a
don't know, we
year.
got him on the spot, we can ask him. $10, Joseph, it was about $10. So you got to, I don't know what that cost is. The actual $7 million was tied to the asking price for the Tall Timbers MPUD, which is immediately to the east.
I thought we could swap,
Still
Why
got
can't
to
we
pay
swap?
somebody back, though. Still got to.
huh? It's
We had a number of valuation struggles in those negotiations where, the focus right now is really looking at the utilities property if the board wants to, maintain on that promise. But and the Tall Timbers piece really wasn't all that good. We couldn't activate that much land to do really anything with it. And so at that price tag,
Oh.
it just, the intent was right, but I don't think the details really played out the way that we wanted to. So we're looking at that centralized utilities.
okay, because they need
Piece.
something.
Yep. So again, rough numbers, throw 30 million out there on facilities, better to have enough, not enough. DCH Timber is a large, actually something that the ELAMP team has been identifying for a long time. That's over in West. I want to say it's approximately 500 acres. A lot of creative activity occurring, I think, on that parcel.
Where is it?
This is right below Heritage Pines.
Yeah.
And we had all those people about a month ago come before
A
the
lot of
board.
public comment.
They're trying to work with the
Oh, is
sheriff
this where you can
departments,
put
code enforcement, you got
four-wheel?
shootings, you got
We need that.
four-wheelers out there, so this, and I didn't know this was on your radar, but I'm glad it is, but, and you've started conversations already?
Yes, I have,
Yeah.
yeah. Again, I put the question mark because when something's, like, I think that's over 500 acres, it has the potential to be something more than, it could be a combination of ELAMP and a parcel. Anyway, left that there with
That's
the
this piece right here.
question mark. Forest Hills, before I say anything, Commissioner Starkey may say something about Forest Hills, but that's an old golf course that's defunct. It's along the river.
With the
asking
boat,
for-
with boater
Yes, boater
access and, already fenced.
Where is it?
It's good to go. It's in Holiday on the west side, east side of 19, which has no park. And we're trying to hold off them developing it. They offered it to us, so this can be CDBG-DR, and this can be a combination of things. And it's right on the Anclote River.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's got a boat ramp. Yeah. It wouldn't be, it'd be pretty passive, fishing and boat ramp and
Kayak
frisbee
launch.
golf.
Yeah, it could be a disc golf course, which we get a lot of requests for, so.
Yeah.
Next project, Hanlon Ranch, that's an ELAMP project up far on the east side. We did actively pursue this, and the property owner did kind of ask us to stand down. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. Hopkins, so the Hopkins parcel is specifically a park parcel. It's immediately south of the existing utilities water treatment facility in Wesley Chapel District Park, approximately 180 acres. This is one of those fantastic opportunities, I think. I'll get to recommendations later, but the synergy with the existing district park, possible ongoing expansion, Joseph, of the water treatment facility makes a lot of sense, but we can get into that a little bit later. Mitchell, this is an ELAMP project that is brought through to us through the development application and the ecological corridor ordinance. So that
Is
is,
this Mitchell 41?
yes, that's
You've
the,
got, okay, so that's Mitchell 41.
yeah. So that's
Okay.
the acquisition of the ecological corridor on that MPUD, which the LDC says if you don't have the funds, then you can't protect it. So it's important that we have fund balance to be able to make that acquisition, which we do.
Where is the Mitchell 41 piece at?
41,
So so it's
north of 40.
yeah, north of 52.
By the mosquito property?
Yeah, no, it's right across from Cruise Lake
Yeah,
Park,
right.
literally right across the
Oh.
lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, the next one is, I'm not sticking to Mike's 15 seconds, but Moon Lake Park, that's the one we talked about earlier, that's the small triangle piece. And we applied for block grant funding for, and now we'll maybe modify the request and do something maybe smaller infrastructure-wise. Port Richey Boat Ramp Project, this we took down several years ago, and so we, the county, own 3 acres. The city of Newport Richey owns also 3 acres. And I talked to most of you about this. The idea is to kind of do some joint partnership. City of Newport Richey wants to focus on a redevelopment piece. We ultimately want to make sure that we have an extra public boat ramp that's affordable to the public because we're inundated with that.
I think the city is moving forward with like a mixed-use residential redevelopment of that hotel
And
piece.
they knocked down that motel, it's gone.
Yeah, so what I owe the board is an agreement ultimately between us and the city.
Yeah.
So, yes, and we're working on that now.
I want to see the dialogue on that too.
Okay.
What we're going to go do.
I
know
think
one-
Port Richey might be.
The
involved, too.
underlying,
It's-
I think the underlying approach right now is that we would either turn over control of a boat ramp to Newport Richey and have access, or maintain control. And I don't know which is better.
I don't want to give up, my opinion, I wouldn't want to give up total control.
No, not for a
So-
second.
You may have to, depending on who ends up being operator, you may have to recuse yourself.
Well, I think that.
I'm
that
going
we're-
to say from the get-go though.
This
wanna
is
see
the
the
type of
discussions.
feedback that's helpful.
Keith and I have talked about this. I haven't seen where it's gone, but I want to make sure we have discussions with this, and I think one-on-ones are probably best, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
We bought the 2 key pieces of property.
Yes.
We have the prime piece of property, and frankly, we need our fireboat should be out there, Fish and Wildlife wants to be out there. I think a boat ramp's key why we bought the property.
Oh, yeah.
So
It has to
I'm not-
stay a
I don't want to
public
give up
boat
any
ramp.
control.
Well,
Mike.
control, though, becomes really what my question is in terms of negotiating. If that's adamant on the board side, then,
They've known all along that it has to be a boat ramp that's open to the public.
okay,
Current affairs, it hasn't gone anywhere.
Correct.
yet. I got feedback from everyone, and I think I know the direction that we need to proceed in, so I'll be working with the city manager and getting back with Kathy and Mike on that, and then briefing each of you individually. So, before we do anything else.
It's so good to see that area redeveloped.
Yeah. All right, the next one, Old Florida Mitigation Bank. This is at the corner, right up the road here, 41 and 52. It is an existing mitigation bank. We tried to negotiate with the property owner in terms of getting it underneath county ownership. So that way there would be no reserve rights for the property owner. The challenge there on that one is that it's an interesting arrangement. The actual mitigation banking company owns like perpetual rights to the land until their permit is finished. So meaning that if we pursue acquisition, the bank comes with them. A little more challenging than what we were anticipating, but the $5 million there is the asking price. It's about 1,000 acres, but that is the asking price for the remaining rights after the conservation easement had already been placed on the property for the mitigation bank.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's over 1,000 acres.
it's over 1,000 acres, yeah.
What-
so.
What's really important to me and to the county is that we get a sidewalk along their 52 edge. They need to,
Okay.
whoever owns it, we have to have a sidewalk on that edge.
Okay. Okay, the next one, school project. So that's generically labeled because I think this is an opportunity for us to, it's an opportunity for us to work with the school board, take existing public assets that are not in the best condition, and then us make an investment,
Oh,
and then use the facility after hours, once the school is
Yeah.
closed. And then we could maybe program some individual teams or other programs actually to these assets and really expand, our infrastructure without buying, a 50-acre parcel or something like that, so.
Keith,
yes, ma'am.
can you just go into a little bit of detail about the one in, the school in
Oh,
Jack's
I've been
district?
briefed.
Did you
Did you want
brief
it
them on
public?
how many fields that we can get in?
Yes.
Yeah.
At Banat?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So the example on the table, and we talked to the school board, is that we would look at Banat Point, and we have, I think it's two softball fields and a multi-purpose field. Is that correct, TJ? I think that's it, yeah. Oh, yeah,
Come to the mic, TJ.
But as he's walking up, so multiple fields, and the idea is that what we did is we presented everyone options of, basically right now they're just Sandsburg fields. I mean, they're not fantastic. Sorry, school board, if anyone's watching this, but they're not in the best shape. So the idea is we, the county, would have to make a capital investment, and what we did is we said, okay, we're gonna go highest end artificial turf, low maintenance, get a lot of bang for your buck. And then you just go down the field of full grass renovation and then maybe just some seeding and stuff. The major challenge is none of the facilities have any lights right now. So TJ, lights per field run about,
Yeah, around 300 grand for Musco lighting, so
Yeah.
that's a big cost. And the only way for it to be beneficial to us is to be able to use it at night. So unfortunately, we have to put lights if it's gonna be beneficial.
yeah, but we'd have to do, so again, you gotta make the investment. The school board didn't say they wouldn't be interested in making some sort of matching investment, but we went to them proposing this idea. I think if there will absolutely be revenue associated with it through the reservations. I think the takeaway is, quite honestly, like I said earlier, if we were to build everything in the West Market area, we still wouldn't have enough fields per the population. So it is a way for us to pick up additional assets. I do have logistical concerns, but I think we work with the school board on some kind of cost share. They have a plant operator. Really would love it to be artificial because then it'd be low maintenance, but that is a much higher price tag. Overall project, at least at that one location, is approximately $4 million.
I'm curious, with all the development going on, the school district added 700 kids last year. They are, and so with their penny money, their penny money goes to they get 40 cents of every dollar, school district. I don't know, I'm curious what their projections are for building new schools. And how does their impact fee money, and how does their impact fee money work? Does money that's gathered on the west side have to go to west side schools, or is their impact fee do they get to go countywide?
It's one bucket.
So they have impact fee money and they have penny money. The penny money is for renovation only. It's not to build new schools, right?
It's both.
It is both?
The program is both.
So I still am curious if because their numbers are so low for new students, if they can, maybe we can talk to them about them, if there's room, to use some of their money towards fixing up their fields. And, you know, like right now they're redoing Gulf Middle, but do they redo their fields when they put money into the renos and?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them, they've made some, I know the athletic director, there's been some discussions about them wanting to convert to artificial in some locations, but I don't know if that's the standard practice moving forward.
So it'd be an interesting discussion to have with the school district if that starts working into their capital plan, if they have room, since their numbers are so low. It's crazy.
Commissioner Yeager?
Yeah.
Yeah, so just, I mean, it would be a pilot program, right? So we would try it, and like Keith said, we would still have a deficit, but if the program worked, then we could do pop-up at other locations and try and relieve some of these deficits. And, I mean, for, my opinion is it's not gonna be a huge cost to the county to do this because they already have the land. So,
How,
go ahead.
Commissioner Stark?
how is it going at the schools that did sign on to participate in this program?
Okay, but in that case, we're just opening up for playgrounds and things like that. This would be a much more intense.
Not any of the athletic fields?
No, it's mostly open space playground elements and a couple courts, but not like field assets. Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, the biggest challenge is security, now that the school, you know, the state has made schools locked down after hours where you can't get in there. We'd have to put quite a bit of fencing in to make sure that we're not allowing anybody to get into the school. So that's some of the cost in there too.
And using middle schools, certain specific schools, because the middle schools have bathrooms in the back, so then we'd only need a key to get into the bathroom and not the actual school, so that was
Yeah,
the thought process behind that.
We did several mapping exercises where, you know, we met with the school board, like, well, you should focus on this type of school and this type of location.
Nice.
So to Commissioner Yeager's point, if it's successful, we could replicate it elsewhere in the county.
Great idea.
Yeah.
So I like the idea, but Keith, I want you to think about something as well. You just, and I hadn't thought about this when we talked about this before, because I want to see how this plays out. But as you said, we don't want to put parks in, we don't have land, save money. But we've got about 20 acres up at Engle Park that is right next to, between the hurricane shelter, the other fields that are already there. Maybe we should be looking at that to get 2 fields that are out front that aren't even used because we don't have even irrigation out there.
What is it called?
It's
Engle Park, on Denton Avenue.
North,
Okay,
it's
Google.
So
north of
when you
Denton.
drive right in, you've got like, what's at least 1 field, maybe 2 fields that are out there,
Up front?
out front.
Up front, yeah. They're just basically event lawn fields. I mean,
So I mean, but those could be 2 fields that are right there, that's high and dry, ready to go. You could just top those things over and make them go. Then around the backside, we've got probably at least 20 acres that are sitting there now.
30 acres.
All the way up to okay, 30 acres, so, because we gave 10 to the Vincent House. But from right in there, you've got existing land there as well, with an existing park structure, et cetera. So I think we should maybe dive into that a little bit too, and let's do a little comparison.
Yeah, so, Commissioner Mariano, that expansion project is included in the capital plan. It's just ranked below the others, that's all. But
It's worthy
in
of
terms
a
of
look to go through.
timing, not importance, just in terms of timing, in terms of phasing. But we could look
And
at.
again, those first 2 fields coming in,
Yeah.
literally, they use the fields a little bit,
Mhm.
but if you improve them,
Yep,
it'd be 2 fields that are right next to the park that's already there. Cheap money.
makes sense.
Just
makes sense.
curious, because, you know, we're all together, what is everybody's thoughts about that project with the school board?
Oh, I think it's worth,
I think
yeah. It's where they're
If we
looking.
can find the money, I think we should try. That's what we're here to talk about, right? These are all great projects, all right.
But I think, as we talked, I'm not crazy about the artificial fields. I think you should look at, if we're gonna go build and put the investment in, when they're doing their other maintenance on their property,
Yeah.
other than the fertilizing stuff, they should be maintaining those and mowing them anyway.
Agreed, and then that would be the terms that we loosely presented already to the school board.
Yeah.
Not
It would be a
artificial.
shared, yeah, it would be a shared,
So assuming
Cost.
assuming the money can be identified, it's really just an agreement, working off the existing master use with the school board and identifying terms. I mean, it's, not trying to oversimplify it, but it's literally that simple. It's the money that would be holding us up, but, if I can, I'll
can I
finish the
make
last.
one comment
Oh,
on that?
absolutely.
It would also go into a joint account with the school board and the county, and that account would be used for maintenance. So whatever goes into the account goes out for maintenance to that park. So,
What is Stagecoach?
Stagecoach is an Elamp property. It's located north of Crossbar Albar Ranch. That's been through the
Oh.
acquisition list and the
Was
process.
that one that was gonna be developed, and then it had really hard development access and all that?
Not that I'm aware of now. It's a large property that is basically up against the Hernando line there.
Oh, Hernando.
Yeah. All right, next one is Starkey Anclote Bridge replacement.
Yes.
That's basically just replacing the old bridge. Threw a number out there. I would think that would be enough, but that's about what we think it would cost. And then right next to
Where
that.
is
We
this
need to
bridge?
shop that.
So, Starkey Ranch Development and the Wilderness Park, through the zoning, there was 2 required public access points within the development. This part right here, I get them confused, A or B, but either way, it's supposed to be a public trailhead that gets from the southern part of Starkey Wilderness Park, you're able to access. The problem is you can't access it because the bridge that was there is no longer up. The Water Management District removed the bridge, it was no longer structurally sound. We've approached them about actually them funding the replacement of said bridge, and they said, Keith, they didn't say Keith, I think they did. I think they said the county needs it. I was meeting with them, so I think they did say that.
They don't need it.
You need you need the bridge, we don't need the bridge. We can get our land management equipment to other parts of the property without the bridge. We need it for people moving. We have a public trailhead, which I'll talk about on the next one, that hasn't been clearly identified, and we have no means to move people from the development further into the actual park property.
So if I may, the Anclote River goes through, it's actually
South
the
Fork.
headwaters of the Anclote River, and it goes through the property, and the bridge connected the southern part of the park to the northern part of the park, but it got dangerous. Part of it fell in because there was no maintenance on it. And so you cannot get from one side of the park to the other. So we need some kind of, not a fancy bridge, but we need something to go over the river.
Yeah.
And if someone gets lost or
So,
there's just no way to get over the river.
could we use the disaster funds for that, since that is a flooding area?
We didn't put that on the list,
I hadn't thought of that.
I didn't think of that either.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll consider it.
Yeah, we can consider it. The cost really is
Yeah.
the length of the bridge to get across the floodplain. All right, so the next one is.
Hold on. Commissioner Williams.
So, sounds like this bridge is predominantly for the Starkey subdivision.
No.
Well, it's
That's
a-
a,
Size, right? Trail?
that's.
It's a
open to the
pub,
public.
It would be
But it-
public. You
it's a
could park
public-
there
But it
and go do
connects-
it.
Isn't the park?
But it connects the residential piece, I mean, it's basically an amenity for the residential piece, right?
it was an identified public trailhead,
Yes,
so
that
that's
was a
gonna be the
requirement.
next, that'll be the next one on the list
But is the residential part of Starkey, like, does it surround this?
I think you can make an
Yes.
argument because it is adjacent that it
Okay,
is.
so my point to that is, I think whatever their CDD groups are, we ought to go talk to them. Because they'll be the ones that use it more than
They're-
anything, because they're
no.
right there.
No, they're gonna fight it because the public will come in and park.
They'll use it more than the public, I imagine, because it's right there. I think it's worth the ask.
Have the conversation.
I think it's
Okay.
worth the ask, then pitch it to them, say, hey, look, this is a pile of money going to sooner than later, benefits your communities.
Well, we're already talking to them about the next one, which is the trailhead part of that piece. So, right next to the actual public trailhead
It's
is
behind the
a,
Publix.
is a parcel of land. I don't remember the acreage, a very small sliver of land. And, the developer still owns it and.
No, Swift Meadows.
Swiftmud has an easement over it, but the developer still controls the land. They still own fee simple. So, the question there is, I tried to get the CDD I tried to get the developer to deed the land to the CDD. They said no. So I don't know if we're gonna have to buy the acreage or not. My recommendation would be is even if we control the land, I think we should deed it over to the CDD and let them maintain it as a neighborhood park piece of an element. Unfortunately, through the zoning, it's required to be a public trailhead, which ultimately I think means then it comes back to us. But I put that on there because it's connected to the bridge. The number that's been floated around about the acreage is around 700. I don't know what a trailhead park would look like, so just attach some facility cost to that. But they go kind of sort of hand in hand. And to Commissioner Waitman's point, the trailhead is embedded in the development, but that was by design because of the, the adjacency to the actual park itself.
Quick question while we keep on moving, but can you pull this up on map pages so we can see it?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, can someone pull up Google Maps or something?
Keith, the bridge is there for the South Branch already. We put that in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the northern bridge.
All right, the last one on the list, and Commissioner Mariano, I'll pivot back once.
Yeah, we'll come back to it.
Sunset Ranch, so this project was, this is on the east side of the county, is located, I call it the Target Distribution Center. I don't know if it still is a Target Distribution Center or not, but it's a rather large holding. Could be an ELANT project, could be a Parks project, based on acreage through an estimated cost out there. And just to be clear, no dedicated funding sources for any of these projects. That's kind of the purpose of talking about them today. So while we're waiting for a map, if we go,
So zoom in
You
between,
probably want a satellite view.
yeah, you can see, it's to the left.
and due north
Can we,
is Lowe's.
can we dim the lights? Or turn off the lights? You can't. I don't know if that's a possible thing.
Yeah, Joseph, this is your building, get the lights.
Far left, go the other side. There you go,
Yeah,
There we go.
all right, so,
Right there, yep,
Yeah.
perfect, right where your cursor is, zoom in
so
there.
this is for the public to access the park instead of driving all the way around and going in the other entrance. And that whole strip of land there,
Good.
Swiftmud did something kind of funky.
Where's the cursor? I'm not sure where we are here.
See what's it?
Okay, I got it.
in the right spot.
All right, so
Yeah.
go ahead.
And so there you see the south branch of the river, which the county already did that bridge. And then if you zoom out, you can see where the north bridge is. And go north,
Hand north.
keep going, keep going.
How long is the trail?
Oh, there's trails all over, but
Miles
no
and
one can
miles of
access
trails.
it. Very few people access it because there's no place, there's no parking and no signage or anything. So we're trying to make this a good access. But keep going. Who's controlling this? You gotta get to the river. Keep going.
There you go.
It's up there.
Can you shrink, if you shrink it, then there's the river. See where it says Anklet River? No, okay, go in a little closer. It says Anklet River when you're at the northern part. Keep going. Okay, there, it says Anklet River. So there's no way to get from one side of the park to the other without that bridge.
And so just little clarification on the agreement that we have with the Water Management District. We manage the people and security, and they manage the land. And so whenever, I think Commissioner Starkey called this out, whenever we're on rescue missions, when
Yeah.
someone decides to go for a hike and they don't know where they are, sometimes it gets challenging. We have to go all the way around.
Yeah.
So this really kind of,
It's a security issue.
it's a security and public safety issue as well.
But if someone's gonna then go to the right side and get all that over there?
Yes, they could. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And there's different,
Please go back to the
Yeah.
slide,
The map.
the map. How long is the bridge projected to be from that point to going across?
You see where the wetland signature, the historical bridge was at the skinniest part, but it's still rather wide, Commissioner Mariano. So I don't have the actual dimensions, but I think the concern is crossing the floodplain is the issue, because if you're going to build something, you want to make sure that it's high and dry throughout all times of the year. So it's at this, again, I think the length, but it still gets to the skinniest part of that crossing right there.
Yeah.
So show me,
It's
show me
absolutely
1,000
beautiful
feet.
up there,
if you
too.
would, show me in the cursor from point A to point B.
All right, so Khalil, go, move the cursor, see that white line going north there? Just follow that, straight, right there.
So from
It's-
there to there.
Yeah, no, just go back to where you were. It's lit, and then, all right, move the cursor. Yeah.
I'm
move it
not
up.
sure if the bridge was there or over to the right.
It was close to right
Right
there.
there?
Yeah.
I was
So if
gonna
you
get
zoom
married
in
on
right
that bridge.
there,
So pretty there.
So right there due north.
yeah,
All right, so how far is that distance?
it's about
About 1,000
it's about
feet.
1,000 feet. And when you
Like
add
a
the
metal
add the
bridge,
floodplain into it, it could be a little
prefab
bit
bridge.
greater.
Have we done bids on metal bridges, or?
We haven't done, no, we
We
haven't.
haven't.
So I put this in capital requests for this, I think, the fourth year in a row, and it's been, remain unfunded.
No, the bridge comes to see at FAC.
I know, we should bid, get a
Yes.
bid. You know, we've got 4,000 acres there. Can you zoom out again? So the top half was 12,000 acres. We have 4,000 acres that's not being used at all, basically, because we have no access to it. And if I could say, the family has restrictions on the top 8,000 acres, or 12,000 acres it's 8,000 acres, it has to stay in its wilderness form.
Who owns the property?
Swift Mud.
Water
Swift
Management
Mud.
District
But
owns.
we have the right to use it. There's no restrictions like that on the bottom 4,000. Those 4,000 acres were purchased for mitigation for the Suncoast, but they don't have the restrictions that the top half has. But it's absolutely beautiful out there. You just can't get to it because we haven't, right now, the only ones who could really get to it are the people in Starkey Ranch. And, because no one else knows that there's a public access right there.
Or
And you
some-
can't get to it from the northern part of the park.
Or someone that braves off the Suncoast and peels off one of the trails, then gets lost.
Yeah, it gets
that
lost, which
a lot.
happens. One of my girlfriends just told me they got lost. And you can see there's nice trails and everything in there. So, anyway,
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea if we can use CDBG-DR.
We'll look into it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the total dollars. I mean, that's under a $4 or $5 million project in total. We just got some land and some access issues, but, okay.
All right, so just moving on, we're almost done. Thank you for your patience. I know it's a lot of information. So just,
Sunset Ranch?
Yes.
Very, don't
Yeah.
talk about that one a lot.
okay, well,
In
is that enough
discussion.
to talk about? Okay. All right, kind of getting back to ranking and prioritization. This is just a refocus on the capital plan, highlighted everything that's tied to concurrency, matches the funding that we just talked about. And this is just your Parks Director's recommendation for at least maybe further discussion. So everything on the left is the recommendation to focus on the capital plan tied to the impact fee study, on the concurrency-related projects that we've taken down through development, and anything else that we already have actively in play. So I put the actual status. I didn't really talk about timelines too much because we're all still relatively early in all these projects. Typically, it takes anywhere between 12 to 18 months for design and permit. With the CMAR, hopefully we can hit the ground running on construction on a lot of these much quicker. If it's not CMAR related, then you're looking at another 8 to 10 months for RSQ and construction. If you bounce over to the right, referencing the opportunity projects that we just ran through, our recommendation is let ELAMP do what ELAMP does, which is it's got a very clear process, it's got a selection committee, it goes in front of the board for acquisition. We prioritize that based on ecological corridors and other environmentally sensitive projects. And then we get to everything else. Again, this is just for discussion. I think Hopkins is a tremendous opportunity for the county, both for utilities and for the Parks Department, just because of how close they are. Connected Cities, I was loosely a part of that in the beginning when the requirement was moved over to VOPH. I think there is a need there. And I think in listening to the board on, during several public hearings, I think it's the board's desire to want to do something there, so rank that relatively high. The question mark is, I don't know where the money's coming from.
Can I-
That's basically, yes, ma'am.
What about Magnolia Valley? Because we have a big deficit over on that side.
So
It's
I
on the
didn't
other side.
add that.
I
because
didn't see that.
Well, yeah, that's on the left.
Oh, because I'm on the wrong page.
Yeah, it's
That would
okay.
be why.
Yeah, it's a lot of pages. And Mike called out that I did not number these, so if you take the staple out, you're in trouble, so. All right. So Connect to Cities is important. School projects that we just discussed, I think, is also a tremendous opportunity because it allows us to leverage and improve an existing public asset. Again, not sure how we're gonna fund it. Talked about Berks. I think the property next to Berks is also a very important opportunity. Again, funding is an issue. And then the other is, I guess, any other project that was on the list that you want to talk about, of which we don't have funding for as of today. So, I think, last thing I want to say is, still some unresolved issues. Your capital maintenance need for your existing inventory still stands at $8 to $12 million a year. I appreciate the $3 million last year from the general fund. And then if we add $550 million eventually, or over time, you're gonna have an O&M cost associated to all that. And I wanted to be a good steward of the budget and just put this out there that that's what your increase would be. Based on, traditionally everyone used to say that it's anywhere between 3 and 5% of the capital cost, but because we're seeing the capital costs just grow so just out of this world crazy, I'm thinking that the percent on O&M ratio probably is gonna drop, because a project costs 4 or 5 times what we thought it was 5 years ago doesn't mean we need 4 or 5 times more operating expenses and needs. But anyway, that's just there because I think we need to remind ourselves that it's something we can't ignore. So that is all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions on projects that were not ranked or that I did not reference as a priority, or get any other direction that you see as appropriate.
I think we could talk about a direction about funding total. Now, the state
Absolutely.
legislature, if they put that $100,000 exemption for the first year, we have no money for parks, no money for libraries, no money for social services. He has $6 million in the hole, which is just funding what they want. I know we brought this up a couple of years ago about doing an MSTU. We passed an MSTU, we just haven't put any money to it. I remember years ago looking at Coral Springs, where that area where they would put something in for your parks, for your libraries, all sorts of other things that were in there, all broken up in the tax area. We had never done it because we were so well, let's say, unincorporated that we had control. But with what we have in front of us, I'm just wondering what the temperature of the board is. Are we looking at maybe funding the MST this year? Because then we can protect it, at least show the citizens, here's where your money's gonna go. So, Commissioner Waitman.
Thank you. Short answer for me is yes, and I think the MSTU is important. Meeting with Mike, that was hearing from the senior board members what happened in '08, and the bottom fell out of the market, and clearly the market demand from our citizens is we want parks, we want them beefed up, they need to be diversified, and it's something that folks really, really want. And as we all know through the budget process, it can be a bit sporty. And I'm for funding the MSTU, the all-in MSTU, for multiple reasons. One, being it protects the park budgets from personalities like myself when it comes into budgeting, which I feel is very, very important. I'm self-aware enough to recognize that. But that, it was my intention to have an all-in, not just maintenance, but an all-in parks fee. And I know I've been rather difficult on it, but it's for this very reason, is to protect that budget, to make sure it stays whole. And if it comes time, that future boards want to, go back in and try to restructure that, you have to have some real serious dialogue. But to create and fund a new tax, it really needs to have a generational benefit, and that was my intention with this all-in parks MSTU, is that the generational benefit and impact for the future for all ages of our residents is, to me, incredibly important. It's one of the key pillars of this job. And so I'm for funding the Parks MSTU, and whatever, you know, that number, of course, obviously there'd be a commensurate cut at some level of form, however we make it work in the budget, right, to balance it out from the general fund. But I'm all for this. I think it's a critical time in our county for Keith's department, for the Parks Department, and the ELAMP program in general. And so I'd be favorable to coming up with a solution on this front.
Well, I've never hidden that I thought we were way underfunding parks, and I don't care if it's an all-in MSTU or it's all in somewhere, but I think that it's critical that we fund him to what he needs. I think it'll be a legacy for this board if we get the parks going the way we want for this county. I think our citizens love the parks. We definitely have a deficit. We all get the phone calls. I can't tell you how often Mr. Fred McGriff texts me, Starkey, where's my ball fields? Where's the Little League field? So we need to make up for generations of inadequate funding for parks. I tell the story that when I moved to Pasco County, 92, 93 maybe, until Starkey Ranch District Park was built, there hadn't been any added ball fields on the west side of the county. I mean, my God, that's a lot of growth with no added fields, whether it be softball or multi-purpose. So I think the last park that we had opened was Veterans Park.
It would have been Land O'Lakes.
Well,
on
that's not the west
on
side.
the west, yeah, yes.
I'm just talking
yes.
the west of 41. And over those 30 years, how many kids moved into, and people moved into the west side? And I tell Keith, the park's gotta be for everybody. I mean, I've coached 25 years youth sports, my husband and I, but I also like to go to the parks, and I'm not, playing sports anymore per se, but still cycling. But we also need to consider the older generation for the parks too, but I'm all in.
Commissioner Aiken?
Yep. No, I agree with Commissioner Whitman, that we have to definitely fund Keith, get us up and going. It'll definitely be our, the legacy of this board. I think it's important to our community. And I think, when we're all together and we talk about the budget and what's gonna happen with the legislature, that we're making parks a priority, so I'm excited.
So I'll go back to, we put the GO bonds out, 72%, as we saw, voted for these GO bonds, and Parks and Libraries being a big part of it. So I think our people have spoken very clearly that they want to go. They saw penny for Pasco money to go to improve their quality of life. And again, with the pressure we're getting from the state above, I think it's a good time to step away. Talk about the west side. Shady Hill's been begging for a field or two. Matter of fact, one time we were working with the Rays to go build a little field out there, but we couldn't make it work. That could have been a mini stadium type thing, a field. We've got land out there as well. We could develop that. I know it's important to try to work with the schools if we can, but our facilities we have in a great place should be a priority to go for. So I mean, Shady Hills could be one. And Engle Park, again, 30 acres sitting out there to go. Could do a lot, especially with all the homes that have been improved in that area. It's over capacity now. With all those homes when they come online, it's gonna be even stronger. So I think it's something to come forward. Now, when we were trying to do this 2 years ago, Keith and I had our conversations. I told him, I don't think it's right for the board with the hostile people that we had working with us.
Personalities. Personalities. Not hostile, personalities.
Oh, that's
So with all that we're going through, I just didn't think it was the right time, feeling the pressures that were there and just sensing it. So I didn't think it was good for us to bring it forward. I didn't think it was gonna go. When we had the workshop, we had support. I go, let's go with it. And I made comment to that. But when we get down to the line, we weren't ready to go. So I just wanna make sure if we're gonna make this move to go forward, that we're gonna be a lockstep, strong and solid, and support whatever numbers we pick as we're going forward. I don't wanna go out there and let it hang and fight that battle. With the legislature we got in front of us, it's big. Commissioner Whitman.
Yeah, thank you. So since I'm the lone east side guy here today, I counted roughly 23 parks west of 41 and 11 east of 41. And with the expansive growth on the east side of the county, it's, luckily there's facilities west. We don't have the facilities east. Done, in its time. Look, I would have supported the Parks MSTU the first go around, but I felt that the structure wasn't right, and it needed to be all in. If we're going to create a new tax and fund it, it needed to be, in my opinion, an all-in encompassing MSTU for the future of park sites and not just maintenance. Maintenance is great, but clearly we need to, expand the park footprint. So now that that structure's in place to be an all-in encompassing MSTU, I'm fully supportive of funding it, just with commensurate cuts, proportionately, however we work that out to the general fund. And that way we kick it off for a successful launch. So I won't be a difficult personality this budget cycle when it comes
Write
to
that down.
when it comes to funding the parks piece. I'm very excited, and I'm grateful to the board to listen to me for however many months and coming around and to amend the language of the parks MSTU to have an all-encompassing parks MSTU. So I'm very grateful to you all. So thank you for that.
Okay, Commissioner Starkey was up, then she just waved for a second.
I just have a couple of ideas that are outside of this discussion here. My husband and I are realizing our dream of getting something out west, and I've been digging into the ordinances of the little town of where we're working on something. It just incorporated in 2008. I wanted to read this to you. I thought this is very interesting. I'm listening to their public town meetings and read. I guess I have a sickness. So, in each subdivision, land shall be reserved and improvements installed for public space. Public space may include parks and playgrounds or other recreation purposes. Such areas shall be shown and marked on the plat as reserved for public space. Installation of recreational areas shall be constructed at the expense of the applicant and built to town standards. Public space will be required in each subdivision based on the following formula: providing 3 acres of public space per 100 residential lots or units and 2 acres per 100 commercial lots. Subdivisions with less than 100 residential commercial units shall provide dedicated public space on a pro rata basis. When the percentage from the above formula would create less than 2 acres, the Planning Commission may require that the public space be located at a suitable place on the edge of the subdivision so that additional land may be added, like the next door subdivision, as the adjacent land is subdivided. The Planning Commission may refer such proposed reservations to the town engineer or town planner. Land reservation for recreation purposes shall be of a character and location suitable for use as a playground, playfield, or other recreational purposes, and shall be relatively level and dry. This is mountainous, so, unless there's a variation approved for good cause. Subdivisions between 2 to 20 lots shall include amenities such as a small park with community garden or a plaza with a covered seating area. Subdivisions between 21 lots and 50 lots shall provide amenities such as a park with play equipment or dog walking park or large community garden. Subdivisions between 51 lots and 75, a park with the equivalent of 2 tennis courts and a gathering area. Subdivisions greater than 76 lots, amenities will be with park area with seating, a ball field, and parking spaces. I wonder if it's time to relook at how we, I helped put that 1 acre per 100 houses in a long time ago, and it's not really well thought out. So that's one thing. There's more. I'll copy this and send it to you all. And I know I see Keith wants to say something. My other question is, what do the cities require in their subdivisions?
Keith?
Well, I think Commissioner Yeager was next. I didn't want
Commissioner Yeager?
Sorry.
Okay, so, no, I just wanted to make a comment that I think it's important to keep the public involved in the whole big picture, right? Like taking EMS off the, moving it to the MSTU. So then people just don't hear like tax hike. We're gonna be
That's what
moving
I said
things.
to him, too.
Yeah, we're gonna be moving things around, so
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily mean your
Right.
taxes are going up. So I just wanna make sure that's, we're clear in our messaging, that Parks is gonna get tons of love, but we are moving some things around.
It's a restructuring of the
Yes.
budget.
Correct, and we've discussed the various alternatives with advertising the trim with you, and we'll be coming back with
I
some
just wanted it on
recommendations on that.
record, so.
Absolutely.
Okay, Keith?
Commissioner Starkey, yeah, I was wondering, do they have a directorship in that city? Is it in Colorado? Because
Utah.
Sounds like a very close similarity to the neighborhood park ordinance that you referenced that we currently have.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
think we should
developer
relook
obligation.
at that.
I agree, it's been something that we've struggled with implementing specifically on the
Yeah.
multifamily side, but, opportunities there. And I'm gonna maybe go off of what Commissioner Waitman said in terms of passion. I mean, we have all the right people in place, all the right people that know how to move this vision forward in a way that's gonna produce products that you're gonna be proud of. We're missing this final piece. And when you see the renderings and you see the thoughtful approach and the improvements, and you saw Pine Hill and all these other things that we're doing, Commissioner Starkey, you're right. I mean, this will be a legacy, game-changing kind of thing in terms of parks. And in some cases, parks are gonna be commercial anchors for certain communities. It's just gonna happen. It's happening already right now. So, good news is, we do have a restructured MSTU that does allow us to kind of go all in. The only piece that I think that we're missing as of right now is maybe the extra capital growth piece that historically we've relied on the impact fees for. We might need to run some calculations on that. But I think that's just a conversation with OMB, Mike and Kathy. I think we just kind of work on those numbers and get those numbers back to the board for consideration. But we're ready to work on that legacy vision piece. I mean, we have all the right people in place to do that now.
So Keith, let me ask a question, budgetary. We've got proposals for increasing the impact fees, correct? Coming up?
No,
Impact mobility fees are coming forward to you. We're-
not for parks.
Parks we took care
Park you
of
just did.
about a year and a
Yeah,
half.
I don't think I'd survive another round of that.
So all your calculations are in right now?
All my, so the, yeah, the,
All your revenues are now showing?
yes, that went into effect last year.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got still a big shortfall.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Do a bond.
So this is gonna be something where, if we're gonna come forward to make this effective, it's one thing to take it out of the general budget and move it over to an MSTU, but if we're gonna catch up, we're gonna have to look to say, we're raising the fee, we're raising money. It's an offset, we're separating it out now, so people are gonna see it year to year, so when we don't need it, when we get caught up, we can bring it back down again.
Right.
But if we're gonna make these capital investments, just like we did with the GO bonds, here's what we're gonna go do, these are the projects we're gonna go do, and here's how we're gonna have to fund it. If you separate that out, you're looking, it's gonna be not just the offset, but an increase. Otherwise, you're not doing anything.
More.
Okay, all right.
And Commissioner
It's a
Mariano, we have the
startup
project.
cost. It's the startup cost to the MSTU is basically what it is, if you put it in layman's terms, right, Mike?
Well, what I'm hearing, and what I.
Because there's a delay, it's in arrears.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing here is and what our plan is right now is to take what is currently the parks budget, and flip-flop that, right? So the commensurate
It's
reduction.
not gonna be 100%,
And,
but a chunk of it can be.
of course, there's general fund pressure, and I've gone through all those numbers with you. But we would start where we start, basically a baseline, I'll just call it an MSTU. What you're suggesting here is tacking perhaps a higher number to that, whether it's this year or at some point in the future. There will be growth in that fund, and we haven't talked about what those projections in those MSTUs look like. We'll have those conversations, and then the board can see, are we comfortable with where the millage is set? And maybe that's not a this year conversation. Maybe that's a future year conversation based on what happens with parks, our execution rates, et cetera. So what you're saying is a startup cost, here we are, let's grow, and then we can modulate from there.
So let me make a recommendation then. Let's go take a look at this. I think your one-on-ones would be important coming up. Look at the 5 districts, they're all over. Let each commissioner pick a certain number, whatever it may be, as we look at it. And each commissioner pick from each single district, we're gonna go 2 million, 3 million, whatever the number may be, and do a project. This way here, with each of us, as we're talking, we're saying we're doing it countywide, everyone's getting protected. You're not making the big jump you need to make, but you're not just shifting funding sources, but you're getting some stuff done and laying the groundwork like, here's what's coming up.
Yeah.
And then after that, we can look at other things. And then keeping the public involved, keeping the citizens involved every step of the way, here's what the next things are coming up. And you at least can do that and show, here's what's gonna happen with the first projects. You know, whether it be the River Park, whether it be Magnolia Valley, whatever it may be, on the east side. You can show something that here's what we're gonna go do. And if it's spread out evenly, because you always have the east, west, north, south, now you'd be able to take care of all that argument as well. And show, this is the way we're gonna do it in the future, project by project by project. Not like 10 at once, but one by one as you go. Keith?
So I think that you already have the list pre-baked, so I think that approach makes sense. I don't know if some of you recall, we had kicked around the idea of market MSTUs, kind of, Commissioner Mariano, to your point, not district, but using the planning department's market areas. And you could then be very project specific to say, in this this is just a suggestion since we're, I don't know, maybe brainstorming. You could say, this is the list of projects within this specific MSTU for this area, and then you're only making that assessment for, you know, for that project cost there. A little more complicated, and I hear Jeff now, maybe there's a legal issue, we can't do that, but that's also an option, I think, as well.
Let me elaborate a little bit more about what I'm saying. If we're gonna be spending the money, we're gonna increase the fee to go do certain projects. I think you should talk to each one of us, get some, and you need to come up with some numbers that look good, but get something for each different district. It shows it's done countywide in each district. Everything's population-based, it's balanced out, and it can show to make the steps. We got a long way to go, but at least we're gonna make a start with a project in each district to what's gonna be effective. And we can show that, boom, boom, boom. And everybody's gonna be able to look at it, as we're talking, we take care of the whole county, not just part of it.
Right. And then I think, Mike, I mean, I'm assuming if the capital need is satisfied, that rate then could be lowered at that point if
It's
there's
gonna be a long time before your capital need is.
Well, I mean, I'm hearing like a startup number, and obviously, you know, you have a production issue in terms of how much you can get done anyway, but I'm kind of like thinking that if an assessment's set and it includes a modified ad for capital growth, that, you know, that's gonna eventually kind of come down because that need will have been built. And then you just have the operation and maintenance piece. So I think it could be lowered down. I don't know if
What I'm thinking of is kind of your standard, what a baseline MSTU would look like, and then we can have an MSTU scenario, whether that's in year 0 or a future, where we accomplish those projects, and the board can consider those 2 cases. I mean, it further complicates it a little bit if we start doing market, because then, you know, Jeff and I were just, you know, Jeff was opining about having a broader MSTU, and then you have your separate MSTUs that's probably not a non-starter. We would.
You're gonna have to form individual MSTUs for the geographic area that you're talking about. But this isn't far off from what you've already expressed to the board, which is linking your capital improvements program to the MSTU funding.
Correct.
You're just, I think what Chair is asking for is the capital improvement program would be by district.
Just build
so that
equity,
you could
build
see
equity in it.
what was in it.
Just the way
Correct.
we used to do program maintenance.
Right.
We had like $2 million a district, let's say, for a number, and you would pick.
It's a
where
budgeting,
would be
it becomes a
spent.
budgeting
It's evenly
exercise.
spread around the whole county, so you don't need those individual districts, but it let the people know that money was gonna be spent taking care of the roads here, there, and everyone was even, and no one had to worry about it.
I understand.
It made for a real good balance, and we never had trouble. It was like pretty simple every year. Everyone looked quick, so if the district commissioner says, I want to get this one done, instead of that one, shifts were made, and it worked very, very well. You can do the same type of thing here. Now, the other thing I want to bring up, cities, especially the ones that have blighted properties,
That's what's my
that
question.
they just go buy. They don't do anything with it, but they own a lot of land and keep on buying stuff. I want to make sure that they're going to be contributing in here, one way or the other. And I will say this, just so we don't jeopardize it, if they're not going to come in good faith to go put the same type of MSTU in, or something like that, we use that for leverage for later on to say, we just put this much in, you haven't helped us with it, you're going to have to put more money in, because you're taking money from your CRAs to go forward.
I have MSTU discussions being scheduled with the various city managers now, and we'll have those conversations. I do believe, that city residents benefit from county parks. Our cities don't have regional parks. Our cities don't have these amenities necessarily that we do, and so I would argue that, they ought to pay into that because they use those facilities.
And can you also ask them what, I'm gonna give you this handout
Okay.
from my little town has, and I wanna ask them, what are they requiring in their subdivisions? Because, I look at Dade City and they're doing 40-footers all over the place, but what are they reserving for their residents?
So,
And I do wanna really look at our neighborhood park ordinance and make it better.
Chair, if I could, so, Commissioner Starkey, that was not an unusual concept in Florida in the 80s and 90s.
What?
That, exactly what you read is what most local governments did, was they
Oh,
had,
really?
they had recreational open space, and they had sort of the environmental preservation open space for all their subdivisions. Pasco in 2006 moved away from that concept of requiring open space per subdivision and went to the current wildlife corridors. So
We
it
still have
was,
neighborhood parks in our
actually, the neighborhood parks came back in afterwards when you got rid of all your open space in subdivisions. But it's a policy choice for the board.
Yeah,
My
well, we
point
need to
is,
fix
it's a
that.
policy choice for the board. It sort of has ebbed and flowed, as commission thought one thing was more important than another. But basically, your wildlife corridors were the thing that took up the required open space per subdivision.
But not every subdivision is anywhere near the wildlife corridor.
I understand that. I'm just saying that was a choice that was made in 2006. It may be time to revisit that, but that was.
I was gonna say hell yeah, but I'm probably getting hell when I say heck yeah. Fix that.
You know,
Fix that.
So
Hell yeah.
So I'll say, I think probably is a very good time to talk about it, talking about the tree mitigation fund, et cetera. Maybe that's a way to keep open space without going down the other way.
Chair, if I may, I think there's also an opportunity here because we're in the process of updating our comp plan. We'll be bringing that to the board later this year for adoption, but then the following piece of that then becomes the updated land development code, and I think that this conversation regarding, park requirements is opportune for those
Yeah.
discussions too as well.
I really like the idea how they put it on the edge of a subdivision, and then when I don't know how much opportunity we have left, but when another one comes in, then that public space, we started requiring that in a lot of our multifamily developments, is having something that the public can, where the public can gather, and I think that's so smart, because then you build, well, you're gonna see this, but then you see places where people wanna go. And you gotta have that in your county, or it's just a block county.
Keith?
Just last comment on that. So my team is working with the planning department on the comp plan, open space policies, options for civic space, neighborhood parks. So I think when you see the LDC changes come up, that's when we're going to really get into tweaking those. I think it's going to be a great opportunity. So, yeah.
I think it's a great little dialogue right there, and I think it's a good time to take a look at what we're doing. And certainly, I will say this, if we've shortened the requirements on apartments, shame on us, should not happen. And maybe especially those things should have more open space as well.
Yeah, yeah. We give them waivers. They put in less public space than's required.
We need to eliminate any waivers for those,
Yeah.
anything high density.
All we do is stress our other properties when we do that.
All right, anything else?
I just want to say
Go to your second to last slide.
Kathy?
Thank you. So based on Keith's recommendations here, we're gonna be looking at, you know, those 4 or 5 bullets that he's got outlined there with probably an air of a little more urgency and seriousness. And while we don't necessarily have funding aside from them, we're gonna try to take them as a priority to look for funding and alternative sources. I just want to be clear with the board that this is really gonna be where I think we need to focus our efforts. That Hopkins piece, I think, was important. That Connected Cities was a pledge from the board to the public. The school projects, there seems to be broad support for that, pushing that forward, and then expansion over at Berks. I recognize that there may be others that are
Anclote
cropping
River?
in. Correct. Anclote River, I see
Gotta have
those as.
police out there every
I see those
Saturday.
as smaller dollar ones to me, and I think there's some DR. I think that was a great idea, Commissioner, to look at some DR funding on
Yeah.
that. Probably could be tied to flooding, but, you know, I'll have to check with Chuck on how
Well, I'm
that.
talking about number 1 on there. What are you talking about, the one on the right?
Oh, I'm talking about the question marks on the side.
Oh,
The
the
ones
question
on the
marks,
left,
Yeah.
I treat those as, we're moving
that's
ahead.
blow and go.
They're active. It's these other ones, these opportunities, as Keith calls them, because we don't get to pick when the
Yeah.
opportunities present themselves. They present
Yeah.
them, and we either take advantage of them or we don't. But some of these are really good. So I just want to be clear with the board, that's going to be our approach, and I'm good.
So let me float one thing, just as you mentioned in the River Park. Years ago, when they used to look at, the deputies out there would give tickets for people parked all over the place. 90% of the tickets were from Pinellas County.
Yeah, I think we need to look at that.
So if there's some parks change to go take care of our people first, we should be doing that.
It's an enforcement issue, but yeah, we could talk about that
I mean,
offline.
whatever it may be. So it's kind of like, you know, go to a golf course, you get tee times. Maybe the same thing with boat launches for that. You've got to be a resident first. If there's openings, we'll let others go in, but let's take care of our people first.
And, you know, I rode my bike around there last year. I think I showed you the picture where I found multiple people parked with their trailers taking 3 spots because they weren't pulling in straight. There were tons of them that were taking 3. Many of them had 2. Very few were just taking 1 parking spot.
Well, they ought to get a ticket.
Yeah, I chased down the parks guy and.
Yeah, the team has the ability to actually ticket. It's the consequences of ticketing that usually, I think, gets them a little concerned, so.
It's so hectic, you taking more than your 1 spot, that's,
Yeah,
3
that's
taking
clear
3
cut.
when
that's
we're
just,
so tight out
that's just
there.
completely inconsiderate.
Yeah.
Well, we had an incident once, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Kathy had
I just,
Kathy, go ahead.
yeah, I just want to say something, I don't know if I'm on or not, but I just want to say thank you to the board for all your support for parks each and every year. Keith and his team, they rock it. I think we have one of the best park and recs departments in the state, and Mike's support too, so I just want to say thank you.
I want to thank the board too, because I tell you, this dialogue is much needed, and it's tough figuring out what to do, especially when times are tough, et cetera, so I'm glad we're having the dialogue. It was a great presentation today. Thanks to the team for everything and for bringing this forward.
Yeah, and I'd like to pile on to Kathy's accolades, both to the board and to our team. You know, we talk about our culture of people, purpose, and performance, and one of the things about people is obviously treating them well, but it's also providing them with the resources that they need to do their jobs. And by providing them the resources and connecting them to that purpose, that performance, they're going to tear it up. So just really thank you for that as well. And again, thank you, Keith, for your leadership, Kathy, for your leadership of the branch, but Keith, your leadership of this department, and to your team who really go out there and make it happen.
Anything else from the board?
Keep warm.
All right, thank you all very much, appreciate it. Adjourned.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's warmer there than it is here.
Where?
No, but it's like hidden, it's like, you know, it doesn't even have a name, Utah.
Well, I love it.
All right.